Welcome friends, welcome tribe, welcome family once again. Aloha, thank you so much everyone for joining in. My name is Brendon, aka Skull Babylon, Mystic Spider-Man, Wolf Shield, welcoming you to another very exciting, inspirational, educational live broadcast of our Paradigm Shift Central Synergy Circle, an opportunity for us to be able to come together as a team of conscious creators and leaders, shifters, people who are helping assist with the shift in consciousness. So for everyone who is here live on the broadcast tonight, let's just go ahead, gently open up our microphones and send some love to everybody who's tuned into this. So go ahead, make some tribal animal noises, throw in some wolf howls if you want. Everyone send some love to those of you people tuned in.
Yeah, what's up?
Welcome.
Hello.
A little bit more. Let's get it going. Awesome. Thank you so much everyone for joining in. My name is Brendon, as I said, and if this is your first time here, then welcome. For those of you tuning in on Facebook, please feel free to jump over to the YouTube broadcast. And for those of you on YouTube, if you can just drop an 1111 in the comments to confirm that you guys can hear me okay, that things are sounding good. If there's any issue with audio at any point, please feel free to let me know. And we'll give a quick introduction for what tonight's broadcast is about. For those of you who, again, may be brand new to the project, and again, for those of you who have been here before, I'm going to tell you about what we got planned for tonight's Paradigm Shift Central Synergy Circle that we are theming around the topic of gratitude. And of course, this is relative to the fact that, yes, for many of us, we are celebrating Thanksgiving. For those of us in North America, I'm in Canada. We had ours a little while ago, but nonetheless, there's a lot of people celebrating it. And I thought, hey, let's come together as a team. Let's talk about the ways that we're shifting consciousness. Let's introduce ourselves to more of the global network. Let's come together at this roundtable as shifters, as light guardians, and to practice sharing gratitude. As simple as that sounds, to literally practice sharing gratitude. And it may sound almost like a kind of silly yet simple yet also powerful idea. So I'm very excited to be able to explore this as a team, and again for us as a community to come together. So just as a quick introduction to those of you who may be here for the first time, please feel free to check out more at paradigmshiftcentral.com. And also, I'm excited to be able to let you know that things are running smoothly with our new Paradigm Shift Central team Instagram page, which you can check out at instagram.com/paradigm shift central, but 2 dots between paradigm shift central. But just look up Paradigm Shift Central on Instagram, and I'll make it super easy for you and post a link into the live chat so you can sync up to that there, because we got a lot of awesome content coming through there. And so just as a general introduction, Paradigm Shift Central is a project that is created to build a global team of conscious creators and leaders, and to be able to help broadcast this very important story that we are weaving together as individuals, as unique and powerful individuals, such as yourself, such as to anyone who is listening to this, and to be able to cultivate inspiration, to be able to help document our collective experience of the shift in consciousness. And we've been doing these broadcasts. This may sound as a bit of quite phenomenal in a lot of ways. The fact that we've been doing these broadcasts since about 2011, so before 2012, back when there was just whispers of the shift in consciousness. And now so many of us, we're living it full-fledged. It is a part of our everyday experience. And so the intention out of this project is to be able to share inspirational media, to be able to help document our collective experience, to tell the bigger story, and to bring together this super awesome team. This is literally, again, for those of you who are starting to see this from different angles, myself as Mystic Spider-Man, you can literally think of us as this is the Avengers assembling, but we're not the Avengers, we're the shifters, Team Shift, whatever you want to call us, whatever you want to call yourself, a light worker, a light guardian. If you're here to help assist with the shift in consciousness, then welcome. Welcome to tribe, welcome to family, welcome to community, welcome to this very powerful portal, welcome to the roundtable. Once again, as we bring forth this Arthurian mythos into the modern day age, as we stand together as guardians of this earth, as we stand together as conscious creators, as we stand together as dreamers awakening within the dream. So if you haven't already yet, like I said, paradigmshiftcentral.com, connect to our new team Instagram page, Mystic Spider-Man on Instagram for my personal page. All the links are in the info for this video. Huge shout out to our Patreon supporters that help make this possible. By the end of this broadcast, if it's your first time listening to this and you want to go deeper, be sure to check out the Patreon so you can find the additional ways to support the project and also be involved as a leading member, which allows you to get involved with our ongoing broadcast here tonight. So for tonight's broadcast, what we're going to do, we're going to practice going around this circle. Like I said, we're going to practice sharing gratitude, kind of in theme with Thanksgiving, but also in theme with the fact that we're approaching 2020. This is a big milestone. This is a big moment for us in our collective shift in consciousness. I remember way back when it was like 2009, 2010, and I was kind of going through my awakening, and maybe I'm not the only one, and you guys, I'm open to hear from you. I always foresaw 2020 as being like this very big year, this very like big milestone where it's like, okay, we got to get XYZ done before we reach 2020, and then once we're in 2020, that next decade is going to be like so transformational. So what if this is a crazy idea, but what if everything that we have been doing over the past decade over the past decade has actually been like preparing us for 2012? Like, whoa, like what? Like that's kind of a, if you think, I mean, you can say that about anything, and 2020 is going to prepare us for 2030, etc., etc., etc. Every lesson is a stepping stone. Every opportunity is a chance for us to learn more of who we are. And so as we get ready to move into 2020, let us practice reflecting. Let us practice thinking back. Let us practice seeing the things in our life that have helped shape us through the lens of gratitude. And so before we even begin passing the microphone around, and if I can just get like a quick thumbs up. Oh, actually, I think we'll pass it to Louis first, because Louis is going to have to head out. Louis, we'll pass it to you first, right? Yeah, okay, cool. So we're going to pass it to Louis in the next moment. Before we do that, I want to practice a quick little exercise. And this was an exercise that I literally was inspired by having, before this broadcast began tonight, as homework, I went and saw the new Mr. Rogers movie. And so you guys know I'm a big fan of movies and conscious movies and everything like that. And this film, this story of this man, Mr. Rogers, I encourage you to go see the movie. He is such a powerful archetype for us to be able to look to as someone who boldly changed the world through the power of compassion and through the power of reminding us that we're special and through the power of gratitude. And so one of the things that happened in the movie, and I'm not going to explain the context because I don't want to spoil it for you, but I'm going to invite us to share this as a practice now, is very simple. Is to be able to take a moment, literally just I don't even want to say how long, not that long, 30, 60 seconds, give or take, of us practicing thinking through the lens of gratitude about the people in our life who have loved us into who we are now. The people in our life whose presence has helped us become who we are. And so this may not even necessarily be people on the top of your mind who you might think of as having, oh, they quote unquote loved me, but maybe they still served a place within your story that helped you learn about who you are, that taught you more about conviction and boundaries and how to love yourself. So I don't want you to just think about the people that treated you well. I want you to even think about maybe some of the people that you've had a hard time forgiving. And I want you to be able to practice in this moment. So everybody here, literally just close your eyes, and I'm just going to talk for just a little bit more, and I'm going to set this up, and we're just going to spend a minute. And I want you to literally, in this moment, just think about all the people in your life. Just kind of, their names will come to you as you open up to this practice. So don't worry about trying to think about it. Just allow them to come into your thought, allow them to come into your heart. And so just practice this together. If you want to close your eyes or just kind of think internally, and just take a breath here. Nice gentle exhale. And just spend this next moment practicing your gratitude for the people in your life whose presence has allowed you to be who you are now. So go ahead, practice that together. It's about 30 more seconds. Take your time. Just continue to breathe as you're in this space. Any feelings you might have felt, just allow them to be present with you. Maybe even just present with you throughout this broadcast, throughout this moment, throughout this opportunity. Allow you listening to this to be a practice for all of us, to be in this space of gratitude, to reflect on what that means, and to allow it to give us more gratitude for that which is ahead, and ultimately allow us to be more present with the gifts as they are. So when you're ready, if you haven't already yet, you can gently open your eyes. Awesome. So if anybody in the comment, if even, please feel free to share your feelings during this episode. How did that feel? How did that feel just right now? How did that feel for you? If you want to share anything in particular, maybe people you thought of, express that in the chat. You're more than welcome to. So we'll start going around the circle, and I'm going to pass it to Louis, because Louis is going to be heading out shortly. From there, we'll kind of open it up even more. I want to just be able to invite Louis to just kind of express, what is he feeling grateful for in this moment? What does he want to share in terms of expressing gratitude? From there, if Louis is still here, but otherwise we can dive a little bit deeper. I also want us to even practice expressing and exploring, what does it mean to be grateful? And Louis, you're welcome to answer that too. But what does it mean? Like literally, like here we are talking about it, but what does it mean to be grateful? From whatever level you choose to see that. So Louis, I'm going to pass it over to you. Please feel free, any short introduction you'd like to share with yourself and what you would like to bring to the circle in this moment of gratitude. Go ahead, Louis.
Absolutely. Thank you, Brendon, so much for this opportunity. I have to start with saying that I am grateful for literally just having this space and environment to share, I suppose, my creativity, my emotion, my thought process, a bit of myself, if you will. Because I have so little time tonight, I want to share that working with you is quite easy because you're very flexible to maneuver around. And in this very moment, it's what I'm most grateful for, because I do feel that participating in these kinds of events and these kinds of discussions, regardless if you're fully engaged or not, merely being a part of something like this, you absorb a lot of information and you grow as a person. And each time you experience something like this, you're breaking the mold of who you were and becoming something new, whether you like it or not. And it's that process that allows us to develop as humans. What's that? Oh, sorry. Cool. So that's what I'm the most grateful for right now. And in terms of what does grateful mean to me, or how would I define that? I would say being grateful is probably having the ability or the awareness level of realizing that something can always be better or something can always be worse. It is merely how you perceive the situation, your attitude towards it, and based off of that, you can shape your own life. So being grateful comes down to having a positive mindset in my eyes. That's what it means to me in short. I don't want to go too further into what I'm doing because I do want to hear a little bit of what else is going on. So I will bow out now. But thank you for the opportunity once again. And looking forward to the rest of this. Cheers.
Awesome. Thank you, Louis. And again, I'm grateful for you being here. I'm grateful for the gifts that you bring to the circle, for the talents that you bring to the way in which you express yourself, and I think that's like in itself, and I'm grateful for your gratitude, because I think, and again, this is having just seen the Mr. Rogers movie, I'm kind of like bringing in some of the vibes and stuff like that, but it's to be grateful for gratitude is something we often overlook. And sometimes we kind of forget the impact that can make, the difference that can literally make for someone to just be seen, for someone to be acknowledged, for someone to say like, oh, like what you're going through, that must take a lot of courage. Like, oh, what you're working on, that's a lot of passion. Thank you for sharing that. And for someone to just hear that and just be like, oh my God, like, thank you for acknowledging me. Thank you for acknowledging me what I'm going through. So powerful, so powerful. And an attitude like that, it invites all of us to change the way we live, to just be more kind of like in that open heart space where it's easy for us to kind of get caught up in our own stories, and that
It
doesn't mean
really
that we
is.
shouldn't focus on
It
them,
really is, yeah.
but we have to remind ourselves of like how our story is also how we show up to other people's story as well. And that's the thing, like you might think like, oh, why should I help this person? Maybe they're not even my friend, but sometimes you going out of your way and expressing gratitude, offering that branch, teaches you. It allows you to see more of yourself. It allows you to see yourself and be like, whoa, like, what does it feel like for me to maybe be the person to offer forgiveness or condolence or gratitude when, maybe it wasn't expected of me?
Exactly, yeah. And whether you realize it or not, you grow from that experience. And
You
so I
do.
invite other people to not necessarily force themselves to make that, but be conscious and attempt it at least. Because in the long run, it is beneficial to everyone involved.
Yeah. And that's one thing I'll definitely say is that, within this practice, and we'll pass the talking stick around just to other people, just kind of again to get your thoughts. What does gratitude mean to you? What does it mean to be grateful? And we can kind of take that to a higher conscious perspective on this. So you can get a little metaphysical with that question. But yeah, like what I was just going to say though, following on what Louis said, is that I think being grateful and practicing gratitude, it literally is a practice. It's a habit. It's something that takes like not just instruction but leadership to kind of show what's possible, to give people permission to know that they can kind of let their guard down. And I think that's the thing, right? A lot of people, they're living tense, they're living like this, but once we naturally relax, then we can allow ourselves to be more into that aware state. Suddenly we're not just stuck on our own like tenseness, but we can allow ourselves to be more open, we can allow ourselves to be more present. And so just being present evokes more gratitude, and being grateful evokes more presence. So because you realize that there's like this I'll just say this and I'll pass it to anybody else who wants to jump in next. Again, going back to the Mr. Rogers movie, there's one part that he says, and I've kind of heard this echoed in different ways, but it was just cool to hear it again in a mainstream movie, because this movie is changing people. People are coming out of this movie and they're like, this movie's changing the way I live, and that's why it's powerful. And that's why media that we're creating here, the broadcast we're making right now, is powerful, because it's a story that's being shared. But basically, he said he was on a phone with a fellow, and he's like, and he asked him, he's like, do you know what do you know what is one of the most important things in my life right now? And he's like, what? Talking to you on the phone right now is the most important thing to me, because I'm doing it right now, right? So like, what happens when we start thinking that way, where we really just allow ourselves to be able to see whatever moment we are in as the most important thing to us, because that is where we are. And that's, I think, and oftentimes where we lose gratitude is when we are outside of the present moment. We're thinking about something else, and we kind of like, we overlook what beauties or what gifts or what opportunities or what, again, connections may just be kind of hidden in plain sight. So I'll pass it, and again, for anybody here, if this resonates with you, drop some 1111s in the comments, and again, share in the comments as well, what does being grateful, what does gratitude mean to you? So I'll pass the talking stick around, and just right before I do that, just want to express some gratitude to Philo. Thank you so much for joining.
Yes,
good
yes.
good to see you.
So I'm not sure if my thing is. Can you hear me?
It sounds good. Yeah, it
All
sounds
right,
good.
cool. Yeah,
So,
I'm using. I
cool.
just got a smartphone for the first time, so I'm. It's
Hey,
my first time using it on the Zoom thing. I actually,
beautiful,
I
beautiful.
actually changed my name to SMJ337A. That's my new nickname. So
Okay,
just, they didn't,
that's like the default thing. Yeah,
they didn't ask me to put in a name. So
it's
yeah,
like your droid name.
yeah.
Cool.
Um,
All right. Philo, so maybe just we'll pass over to you.
sure.
Again, we're gonna practice expressing what are we grateful for. Right now, just kind of focusing. What does being grateful even mean? What does gratitude even mean? Let's explore that a little bit, in whatever way you want to see that question.
Cool. Well, happy Sunday, everyone watching this. Nice to virtually connect with you, Michael and Lewis. Is it Lewis? Cool. Or Louis. I'm not sure which one. Louis. All right. Word. Um, and yeah, everyone watching this, what's up in the future, past, present. Um, yeah, I mean, I have a whole lot to be grateful for. I actually had a really intense near-death experience, basically exactly a year ago. Like my mom, I'm at Thanksgiving with my family right now, and my mom just showed me this picture. It was like a Facebook memory of 1 year ago today, and it was me in a hospital gown, literally like learning how to walk again. Like I had to use a walker to take one step at a time. And, I was wearing those yellow hospital socks, and it just brought back all these memories. I was in the hospital for like a grand total of like 18 days last year. And that was a pretty profound experience. And yeah, okay, he's got to bow out. Do you want to just say goodbye for a minute or something?
Yeah, Lewis, you're
Thank
gonna
you, thank
sneak
you.
out like a
I'm sorry I have to
ninja.
bow right now for this story. I'm very happy that you've recovered though, and I'm grateful for your story
Yeah.
and how that you're sharing it with everyone else. But yes, I do have to run. Thank you for the opportunity to say bye, and thank you once again for having me
Yeah.
on. Cheers, guys. Bye.
Lou, we'll keep in
Peace.
touch, man. Thank you.
Um, and we have another person, Taylor. What's up? I guess I can only view 3 people at a
Yeah,
time, 4 people at
yes.
a time. Is there other mysterious people on here?
Who else is hidden in this? No, I think
One
that's
more?
everyone.
Okay. Hello, mystery person. Um, so, anyways, I'm super happy to be alive. And like this experience was so intense and so painful and so like brutal that, you know, I feel like I just have a constant state of gratitude ever since then. And I just like one of my biggest things that I learned from one of my mentors in California, he says like you should, and it's funny, right as Michael's taking a sip of his cup, you should fill up your cup with gratitude, and then once you're filled with gratitude, you should channel that energy into service so that you're channeling it into helping other people to reach some kind of state of gratitude, and I'm excited to see the Mr. Rogers movie. I know Brendon saw it today, and he messaged me, and I live in Pittsburgh. I grew up in Pittsburgh, and so my mom actually goes to the same church where Mr. Rogers used to go, and like the other about a year ago or about 6 months ago, I got to meet Mr. Rogers' wife. She's a real sweetheart, and I'm excited to see the movie. And yeah, I think we all gotta like to learn to live a little bit more like Mr. Rogers and just see people that are different from us as neighbors and just try to find a way to be compassionate towards them and to build connections with them. So yeah, that's a little snippet for me. I'm super in love with what I call medicine music. I'm wearing this shirt that says "You are the medicine." This is from a phenomenal artist called Cornflower, which I recommend everyone check out if you've never seen him. He came to Pittsburgh recently, and like we have weekly ecstatic dance in Pittsburgh, which is like free form, do whatever you want, very healing dance. And normally there's like a curated playlist that plays throughout the whole event, but Cornflower came in there with his like loop pedal machine, and literally he led a whole ecstatic dance 90-minute epic session using only his vocals. So he like records like some beatboxing, and then he sings, and then he layers and layers and layers, and it becomes like this crazy freaking symphony. He's out of this world. Like he's just on a whole nother level, and I feel like so many people have yet to discover him. So please check out Cornflower Music. And his whole tour was called "You Are the Medicine," which also really resonates with me because I think that we all have like medicine, which is like our gifts, our talents, our skills to like bring forth into the world, and we just got to like cultivate that so that we can share it with others in a good way. So I love cornflower music. I love a whole lot of music, and I actually just updated my website, which is called teampachamama.net, with some new links to like lots of awesome music. So if anyone's looking for great new music, check out teampachamama.net. That's PACHAMAMA.net. There's one on there called 10 Songs I Freaking Love. Maybe if you could post that in the comments, Brendon, since I don't know how to use this smartphone very well yet. um, so, anyways, I'm super grateful for that. And lastly, I will just say that like I am grateful for a lot of my life, but that doesn't mean that I'm happy all the time. And like I've recently have, received some tragic news within my friend circles of people passing away, and um, so me being grateful doesn't mean that there's not tough times, but it's a practice, as you said before. So, anyways, thanks for inviting me on here and letting me share for a minute, and I'll pass the talking stick.
Awesome. Thank you, SMG337A.
SMJ, bro.
SMJ. We'll just call you we'll call you Jay for short then. It's like Star Wars bot. So.
All right, let me figure out how to mute myself.
No worries, dude. And yeah, we shared a link for Team Pachamama into the chat. So
thank you.
Perfect. And yeah, so again, at this point, like as much as we can kind of take turns, we can just kind of open this up.
Harmony's on here. I just figured that out.
You just saw a new person. Yeah.
I know Harmony from way back in the day. And she
That's
changed
awesome.
her name to KFK. I don't know if that's I don't know if that was intentional or unintentional. That sounds like it could stand for something. You're muted still. I can't hear you.
Harmony, I'll unmute you. Go ahead, try now.
Hey, yeah, it was totally unintentional, so we just got a little synchronicity there.
Nice.
I don't know if you are aware, but you are the one that introduced me to Paradigm Shift. So when I saw you pop up, I'm like, full circle, because we did the conference together.
The timelines are collapsing.
And yeah, and he was on the show, and so he shared a link. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. That's exactly along the lines of how I think, and I'm down. And that was in 2011.
Wow.
Yeah. Here we are still. So well, that's awesome. I'm grateful for that adorable synchronicity then. That's perfect.
Yeah.
So, beautiful. Well, Harmony, again, I just wanted to everyone, just speaking to everyone, is opening this up literally just in kind of like free flow conversation style. So if anybody in response to what Philo says or Harmony, if you just feel you're just like, oh, I just have something to say. Again, we're just kind of allowing this broadcast to be what is needed. And I think when we ask that question, it opens us up to like such a powerful exploration of topics, of feelings, and everything of that manner. So Harmony, I'll pass it over to you, and again, you explore, practice kind of answering together, like what does being grateful mean to you, and I'll just explain just in 15 seconds because this is just on my mind right now. To me, like again, like I think gratitude is also can be seen through the lens of like a deep, intimate understanding of how nothing happens by accident, and when we can kind of see things for that bigger story, it allows us to see the part that not just people but circumstances play within that story. And it's kind of always one of those things where it's like we might be going through the hard times, but then flash forward 5 years later and we're just like, wow, I wouldn't be where I am if it wasn't for that, or wow, I wouldn't be who I am if it wasn't for that. So to me, gratitude is intimately empowered with a deep understanding and trust of like the synchronistic way in which the universe continues to serve us, not just to try and make us happy, but to help us evolve our soul, to help us evolve our consciousness. And I think that's a powerful thing, right? Because it gets into this idea that like, wow, okay, literally this entire reality is actually nothing but love, but the love just like looks different, but ultimately that love is there to like help us grow. And the gratitude for that allows us to just kind of like see what may be the hard times, through practicing seeing them through a lens of gratitude as well. So Harmony, I'll pass it over to you. Go ahead, share, what does being grateful mean to you, gratitude mean to you, and anything that you're grateful for that you would like to practice expressing during tonight's circle. So go ahead, Harmony. And any other introduction you'd like to introduce yourself with to begin with.
So I really like what you said. That was really beautiful. It's kind of along the lines of what I was thinking. And to add to that, I think it's really about being in the moment, understanding that everything is, like you said, happening for a reason, and that each moment is unfolding just for us, and understanding that we are playing a part in other people's moments, and just kind of like, especially when you eat or when you're interacting with someone or something, really holding a space for gratitude for a moment before just jumping right in. So, if you're having a meal, think about the places that that food has been. Think about all the hands that have created that um, meal, or all the farmers and all of the truckers and everyone that brought those vegetables to your store so you could buy it, or all of the bugs and plants that it took for your garden to flourish and grow, all the elements, earth that grows it, and the water and the air and the fire of the sun, and just all the way down to the microcosm and all the way out to the macrocosm. Really just filling your being with that knowing and that thankfulness of each moment, and then, like you said, applying that to inspire others, applying that to be your best self in each moment, and kind of moving through your hardship by empowering each moment with kind of what you are envisioning for the new paradigms to come. And I'm so grateful to be here, speaking with you, like you said, being in the moment, and just being very grateful for all the blessings that we have, my home, the food that I have, and my children, my family. Super grateful for everything that I've been able to do with my time and my health, and really grateful for synchronicities to kind of guide me along the way and show me that, the trust that I have, and that surrender that I have is for the right reasons. And so the synchronicities that line up, I'm really thankful for that guidance that I get along the way. I'm also really thankful for all of the people in my life that have supported me and the things that I do, because I am a mother of three and I do a lot of things with my life. It's I constantly am seeing a reflection in the people around me, and like how they are interacting, and that interplay, and those people that are doing like things that you are doing, and creating conscious media, and all the people that subscribe to my conscious media on my YouTube channel, and or send me those messages on Facebook where I'm having a hard moment, like being in my truth and saying, look, I need to post this for a reason, and then getting some backlash. But then the people that step up and say, look, I needed to hear that right then, that moment, for that reason, for certain reasons. And you're like, oh, wow, okay, that's just really, there is a reason why I put myself on the line here, why I'm taking that fire that, didn't necessarily need to be aimed towards me, but, we kind of volunteer for those. And I think, like you said, everything isn't perfect and smiles and sunshine all the time, but understanding that like it's all falling into place, and we do volunteer for certain things so we can not only learn and grow, but also to shift environments and paradigms around us. I kind of talk about that in my book that I write, that I just got published, Birthing a New Paradigm. Is I had some traumatic situations as a child, and I found great healing through understanding gratitude and understanding that I did choose to go through that, so that this serial rapist crazy man would go, like, be caught and be put into life sentence, 5 life sentences he's serving. And it was because of the case that, and thankfully I wasn't raped like the other women, but all of the way that it all lined up and all the synchronicities that put him into the light and showed, like, look, this is the man that did it, and here's the DNA evidence. And he was planning on doing that. So all that crazy trauma that I went through allowed me to grow, and kind of like the fire and the alchemy that helps refine the experience. For me, that was what it was. And I was able to find gratitude in the guardians that I had, my angels, and in the story, like you said, the big picture, understanding that, like, I could hold on to being a victim forever, or I could understand that I volunteered for that experience, for growth for myself, for other people to grow as well.
Thank you, Harmony, for sharing that. And I definitely, like, I think it's very inspiring to hear you being able to, like, speak of that from that perspective. And again, and I think, like, a big part of that is just to be able to allow others to know that it's possible to see it from that perspective, to kind of, like, shift out of, I mean, I don't want to again, just kind of like, a lot of people, sometimes we can get stuck in, I mean, you probably be able to explain it better from your own personal experience, but you can kind of, it's easy to kind of get sucked into the abyss of victimhood, and not just victimhood, but to kind of keep repeating the story in a way that places you as the victim. But once we kind of change how we see the story, then it changes our role within the story. And I think what you said was a very powerful thing, and I'd be curious to hear, like, other people's thoughts on it. And again, and I know when this information has been shared with some people, it really has shifted paradigms. When we shift from this idea of understanding that the hard things that we go through within our life are literally things that we go through because we as a soul are strong enough to transmute them. Like, it's literally, I mean, this is just one idea, and I'm not going to say this is, like, the only way to think about it, but one idea that I've heard that makes sense. And I think it's a mix between this and kind of like the karmic laws of nature, kind of like like there may be some things where it's like we don't always quote unquote choose it, but we did choose it as a result of the cause and effect of past action, sort of thing. So it's like a bigger choice, but more or less it's kind of like one of those things where, imagine before you incarnated onto this earth that you were, like, given like a sheet with, like, a checklist, and be like, here are things on earth that need help transmuting, that we need help bringing light to, that we need help healing. Go ahead and check off, like, at least, like, 5, right? And be like, oh, like this, right? And even going back to the Mr. Rogers thing, it's like, there's no normal life that, this is what was said in the movie, basically said, there's no normal life that does not come with hardship and pain and struggle and everything like that. Meaning that the only way to avoid those things would be to live an abnormal life. Like, I don't know, like to isolate yourself completely or something like that. But even that would be its own challenge. But absolutely, Harmony, I really, I'm grateful for you to be able to, like, share from your perspective today in a way that suddenly your story is not just your own. Your story becomes a beacon of hope for other people. And I think that's the important thing, for even going back to what Philo was saying with their experience, is that when we see people like Philo and like Harmony who have gone through these hard things, and what does it do? It, like, brings them back into even more gratitude. And that's why, like, we don't need to live in this, oftentimes we kind of get stuck in this pattern where sometimes we don't realize how much we care about something until it's gone. And I'm sure we've all kind of heard this, like, don't let it slip before your fingers. Don't like, don't wait until someone's out of your life to realize, like, how much more you could have invested into those experiences and things like that. So yeah, I think gratitude is definitely a practice. And a lot of times, I'll just say this and I'll pass it over to whoever wants to go next, Harmony or Michael or anybody else. I think a big part of being able to practice gratitude also comes with forgiving ourselves for the times when we may not have been as grateful, when we may not have been as present. Because I think sometimes we can really beat ourselves up over that and just be like, oh man, you know, like looking back on that friendship with my friends, I don't think like in the moment, I never really saw how much they were there for me, or I never saw how special they were for me. And it's not until years later that, you know, circumstances have changed. I'm like, oh man, right? So instead of just being able to be like, wow, you know, like I'm going to beat myself up over not being grateful, allow that to just be the past, yet allow it to invite you more into the present, to remind you of how important it is to be here, to be now, to be in those little moments, to be there when your children are growing up, to be there when your parents are getting older in age, be it whatever end of the spectrum you're experiencing, be it when you're walking down the street and you're crossing paths with a stranger, talking to a homeless man and making eye contact with someone, expressing gratitude to a bus driver. Those ways can become common. And I think it's important that we're having these discussions, because it's obvious that as a society, it seems as if that has now become uncommon. It seems as if that is the strange thing to say, to have a conversation with a stranger, to compliment them on their shoes, to express your gratitude beyond your own convenience, sort of thing. But we're literally changing it. And sometimes, again, it's literally this process of like the elastic band snapping, where it's not until you kind of for those of you who tune in on the 11/11 broadcast, this was kind of a theme where it's not, in order to be able to remember our wholeness, we have to experience separateness. In order for the child to see the mother, it has to go from inside the womb, where it doesn't even realize it's fully a part of it. It does, but it doesn't. And then once it's separated from the mother, then it can look back and see itself. So it's once we are separated from our own wholeness, from our own gratitude, from our own compassion, that we're able to kind of like see more of why it is what it is, why it's so important, and how to be able to find our way back there, how to be able to find our way back to our heart. And again, for everybody here, I encourage and inspire you, and I'm grateful for you as leaders, everybody here, the broadcast and all the listeners, all the community, all the team, all the shifters, because what we are doing as a team, we are leading people back to their heart. And this is something I've repeated, and I'll say again and again and again. And that's a simple, but that is a powerful idea, because that reminds us that, you know, anyone can do it. And it's something that we can do every single day. And it begins by also doing it to ourselves as well. And by being able to, you know, we might not be able to say like, oh, I'm grateful that I wasn't grateful in the past. You may not quite say it that way, but you can say, I'm grateful for my awareness of the past, so that I may be more grateful now, so that I may be more grateful in this present moment. But yeah, gratitude is such a powerful thing. And for anybody here in the comments, please continue to share. What does gratitude mean to you? And we'll read a few of the comments on air in the next little moments, or just anything related to gratitude you'd like to express. Before we do that, we can pass it back to Harmony, or pass it over to Michael if Michael wants to jump in, or Philo. Philo.
I gotta leave. I'm about to
okay.
be present with my family, who is I'm about to leave. So
perfect.
Thank you all for being here, being present here. The 6 of you, 6 of us, as well as everyone watching in the future. You're beautiful. You're awesome. Go find some medicine music. Listen to it 24/7, because medicine music will heal your soul. And there's probably at least 100 artists that I would wholeheartedly recommend checking out, and a lot of them are on the Team Pachamama website. So check that out. And thank you, Brendon, for all you do and be. And I'll see y'all in the future.
All right, nice meeting you. I'm going to check out Cornflower.
Word up, yeah.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you, Philo.
Happy Tuesday, everyone.
We'll put your links into the show notes so people can connect with you there, and send in some bonus love to you and the family from the Paradigm Shift team, so you can tell them we said hi.
All
they'll just be like,
good.
They'll be like, my internet friends said hi. So.
All right, and Harmony, so good to hear you and see you for a moment, and
awesome.
Let's stay connected. I send hugs to the whole family. I think about y'all from time to time and look back on some of those pictures very
Pure magic.
gratefully. So
Pure magic, my friend. Yeah, we'll definitely keep in touch. It's great to see you. I'm so glad that you decided to trust your instincts and cop on for the minute. That made my night.
awesome. All right, peace, y'all.
All right, Philo, we love you. Take care.
All right, love you guys too. Peace.
All right. Harmony, if you want, because that was in response to what you said. So if you want to respond, or if you feel you want to pass it to anybody else,
I'll have a quick response and then I'll pass it because
Sure.
I love to hear what other people want to say. I think what you said about touching on even those people that you may be annoyed with, or they may not seem to be the best role models in your life. Just be really thankful for them, not only the lessons that you've learned, but I can speak from experience as well. My father was a severe alcoholic and was unhealthy in many different ways. And for the time where he was living, I did not appreciate him as much as I wish I would have. And now he's gone. And there's like you said, there's the awareness that you can take that life lesson and share that with your experience now and really be appreciative of those people in your life that are here now and those moments that you have with them. But at the same time, he's gone. And so really step into who you see yourself as in the highest moment, who you wish you could have been for yourself, or who you needed for yourself as a child, and really connect with the reasons why these people are in your life, and just appreciate that. And I really connected with that, with what you said, and it I can really understand that experience and how it transitions the way that you see your life in more gratitude.
It's beautiful. Thank you, Harmony, for sharing. And just to kind of complement what you're sharing, I actually want to be able to read just some of the comments here, relative, because again, like a lot of gratitude comes from a deep understanding of impermanence, if you want to use that word. Another term that I really, really like, and I'll give this to people here because a lot of people probably never heard this term before. Anicca, Annica. It's, if I'm not mistaken, like it's Sanskrit or Indian, and it literally refers to like the transient nature of this reality. So there's a phrase, Anicca existence, which I kind of like. That's not like a phrase, but it was something I said one time. And it's actually like something I'm like gonna like name one of like the albums that I'm working on that will come out in the next decade. Anicca existence, but that concept of just like, okay, yeah, like what happens when we fully know in our heart the transient nature of things changing, and that's nothing unique to humans. I mean, again, look to nature and you will find both understanding yet hope. For yes, the seasons change and the leaves die and the snow comes and we experience death, we experience disconnection, we experience loss, but we also experience the spring and the summer and the birth and the regrowth, and we understand that it too is part of the bigger cycle. So again, like in themes of speaking a little bit about life and death, I just wanted to read a couple of the comments here. In particular, Matthew, thank you for sharing in the Facebook. Recently shared. Matthew Murphy says, recently my husband passed away. Since his passing, I have felt both thankful and grateful for the fact he was in my life and cherish the lessons he taught me. So thank you, Matthew, because that there, like, to be able to, for you just to be able to type that there is such like that's an incredibly wise and powerful and compassionate and deep thing to be able to share and to be able to experience. And again, like I'm sure all of us have experience of that, experience of loss, experience of letting go. And it is something that takes practice. It is something that we learn over time. And, be it life, be it death, or be it even something as close to us like a relationship, something that, a lot of people can have those experiences with. I think it shows a degree of maturity of the soul when we can really practice being grateful, to seek the gratefulness in any moment. Like that's the thing. I think that's the trick, right? Is to know that there's literally something to be grateful for in any moment. And I think, and that's what I mean. As us talking about this, we're starting to like figure it out more. But I feel like that's the practice, even when there's something that might be like, it might hurt, give yourself a moment and just be like, where can I find gratitude in this? Where is there still like another way I can see this? How can, you know, I take a disempowering experience, or quote unquote disempowering, and turn it into an empowering experience? It may feel disempowering, but again, that is literally just one way of seeing it, and you can allow it to become an empowering experience by changing the way you relate to it. And so again, you know, even for those of us who have had those deep, meaningful relationships, and then, you know, it might end a certain way and then your heart breaks, but I like to say it doesn't just break, it only breaks open. And you, out of this relationship, think about the ways in which you can look at it. It's a choice. It literally comes down to a choice. And I think that's the thing. Gratitude literally becomes a choice, because the way we see things become a choice. It's kind of like the half full, half empty glass look approach. So you can look back on a relationship and be like, oh, that person, they broke my heart when they broke up with me, and it didn't go quite how I wanted it to go, and I wanted to be with them for another 5 years, and and it hurt me, etc., 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 and I still hold animosity or something like that, right? You're literally holding this. You're holding this, right? And you might think that you holding that is actually an act of love for yourself, because you're like, I have enough pride in myself that I'm not going to let someone hurt me and get away with it, or something like that. And so that's the thing. Like, even our lack of forgiveness and animosity is actually a deeper form of love for ourselves. It's almost as if like a part of ourselves is kind of like looking out for ourselves, almost as if like you would look out for someone who was getting bullied on the playground. Like, if you saw someone else getting picked on, you would step up and be like, hey man, like, back off, like, this kid's like with me, I'm gonna protect him. And when our mind kind of goes that way, it's kind of like our part of our mind kind of becoming, it shows up to kind of protect ourselves and be like, you hurt this person, you hurt me, you did something that I didn't expect. There's grief, there's loss, and I'm being angry. I'm expressing anger because it's actually a form of sacred anger. It's a form of sacred, like, it's love, but it doesn't always look like love. So that's one way you can hold on to things, is again to hold things with animosity, and you know, or you can look back at the past and be like, okay, things didn't go quite how I thought it would, but I'm grateful for the time I had, and I'm grateful for the experience of having my heart broken open. I'm grateful for the ways in which this has taught me to turn the love back in on myself. I'm grateful for the fact that we had a moment to share in each other's lives, and we didn't break up, we broke through. Mm-hmm. And we helped each other get into that next chapter and to get to where we need to be. And when you can start seeing things that way, again, even just changing the dialogue, instead of thinking of it as break up, think of it as a breakthrough. You literally agreed to serve each other up to a certain point. I'm going to get you to here. You're going to get me to there. We're going to help each other. And then we're going to go separate ways. And every relationship prepares us to the next one. So I talk about relationships just because I think it's a very relative thing. And I think it's a very common thing for a lot of us to experience, looking back on relationships. And over time, moving into that practice, can you look at every relationship you were in and have gratitude for it? Can you literally find that? And again, it might be the gratitude even for that boss who might have like treated you like a dirt or something like that, right? Because maybe that taught you a lesson, or maybe that like toughened you up a bit or something like that, right? It's there. The gratitude is there in every single moment. It allows us to become, over time, these experiences, the ones that feel good, the ones that hurt us, they all help us grow. They all help us become more empathetic. They all allow us to be able to relate. They allow our stories to become beacons for hope. They allow us to learn how to heal. And I think gratitude in itself is a healing action. It literally heals. And so let's practice exploring more. And I feel as we have this conversation, we're putting it out into the collective. There's literally like healing happening during this broadcast. And I invite others to kind of like feel that, you know, even for just people listening to this and be like, yeah, like I think, you know, like what within my past have I been holding on to with anger that maybe I can practice shifting, releasing, forgiving, transmuting. And that's a very personal thing to everyone here listening to this. So I'll pass the talking stick around. We've still got Taylor, Michael, and I want to express gratitude to Josslyn for joining us as well. So hi, Josslyn.
Hi.
And so we'll pass it over to, we haven't heard from Taylor and Michael yet. And if one of you would like to just jump in again. Let's just kind of allow this conversation to go where it needs to. What does gratitude mean to you, and how does, you know, any tips on practicing gratitude maybe? I feel Michael might have something to share on that. So Michael or Taylor, if one of you wants to go next, just give me a wave or a thumbs up or do a dance or something.
Either
like
or.
Michael,
Yeah.
okay, we'll pass over to Michael. Michael, go ahead. Great to have you here, and please feel free to do a little introduction for yourself.
Yeah, well, no, I don't need to intro, just Michael Doyle, and everything I do is about empowering people. But what I want to express is my gratitude. Literally, I start every day with gratitude, and just to be a part of this conversation, everything that people have shared so far, it's really powerful, and it's neat to look at it from different vantage points. I do believe it's a choice. I believe it's a vantage point. And I want to honor you, Harmony. We've never connected before, but just the level of connection and awareness and vulnerability and power to see that your soul asked for that experience, and that we're always doing the best we can with the knowledge and experience we have, and that it unfolded divinely. So I honor you in that, and I thank you. I'm grateful that you're here to share that energy with us and that message. What's interesting for me is I'm a very grateful person. I start my morning, you know, as the late Wayne Dyer used to do, when my feet hit the floor, I say thank you 3 times. I walk into a coffee shop and I always say, today's a great day. I look at my son in the mornings and I say, today's a great day. Every day is a gift. And I fully believe that. And it really triggers people. And I love the conversation that it sparks, because they say, you know, that every day is not a gift. I'm like, well, it's a choice. I don't mean every day is easy. Every day is great. Some days are better than others. But to me, every day is a gift. And what's interesting is I haven't really thought about what gratitude means to me until you asked a question 30 minutes ago, Brendon. What is gratitude? And I think gratitude for me is twofold. It's about honoring my journey from the time my soul asked to be a part of this human experience. My spirit came here, and to honor the journey of others. One thing I have really felt on a vibrational level is the illusion of self has been lifted. We are all one. We are not separate. We're not separate from nature. So to harbor anger for someone else, you're also harboring that for yourself. When I was 9 years old, I'm 45 now. When I was 9 years old, my sister and her friend were hit and killed by a drunk driver. And I carried so much anger for so many years. And I released my first book in April 2017. And I wrote about that incident, and I wrote about my journey through that. And I just remember having this vivid dream, as real as I am here talking to you now. I met the driver of that car. And I remember looking into his eyes, and I seen his pain, and I felt his pain. And I remember telling him that I forgave him. And he started to weep. I started to weep. I gave him a big hug, and then there was just light. And that's all I remember from that dream. But I do believe that I connected with his soul, and I released what he was holding, and I released what I was holding in that holy instant. You know, in the dream of the planet, whether we're conscious or unconscious, we're sleeping or we're awake, we are all part of the collective unified consciousness. So I think to be grateful, when you held that thing on the beginning, Brendon, and you had us all close our eyes and be present. You know, it's present because it is a gift. I really believe that, because when we do that, when we're still, we're in the now. Anything that has happened or will happen, it didn't happen in the past. It didn't happen in the future. It happened in the now. The now is all we have. And when you are truly grateful for the now and you start to raise your vibration and awareness, over time, gratitude goes from being a practice to being a natural way of being. I'm grateful when I go for a walk. I'm grateful when I'm in 3 hours of traffic, because it gets funnier. The longer I'm delayed at an airport, it gives me more time to connect with people. When you accept what is, there's 2 ways to get to the present moment and really be grateful. One is, you know, deep breathing and meditation going within, when you can do that. But when you're in the moment, there's only peace. And grateful comes when you stop to really think about, I always say, no matter where you are, there's always someone somewhere else that would love to have what you have. So it's okay to want more in life, but appreciate what you have while you work towards what you want. So I'm grateful for this conversation, because I haven't really thought about what gratitude means to me, even though I live a life of gratitude now. I didn't always, but I have no anger. I have no resentment. I honor the journey of everyone I've met. I see the divine in everyone. I've always known that we're equal. We're all on different parts of our journey, but remembering the oneness that we truly are, and that in the absolute, there is only love. We need to go through the dark to appreciate the light. We need to go through the perceived bad to appreciate the good. Like, I love John C. Maxwell. He has a quote, and he said, change is inevitable, growth is optional, right? So, we have lots of times where we stay in that place of being stuck, but when we're in the moment, we're grateful. So for me, it's about acceptance. I wrote an article a few months ago, and when they reached out to me, they told me the title. They didn't just say, well, I want you to write an article. He said, I want you to write an article called Acceptance is Peace. And of course, the synchronicity of it was a perfect timing where I was in my journey, my spiritual awakening, to write that piece. Because when we don't push against what is, life gets a lot easier. It doesn't mean it gets easy all the time, but it's easier. Because if we focus on the things we can control, and try to control things outside of ourselves, I can control two things: how I show up and how I react. The rest is outside of me. So if I'm going to be angry, I'm giving away my power. Actually, Brendon did a great job videotaping one of the talks I recently did here in London. And I just took like a 40-second clip today, finally, from that 40-minute talk, and I posted it. And I'll just talk about it briefly and pass the mic to Taylor or Josslyn and let them speak. But I think it's important that we ignite our inner power. We have a choice to have our locus of control external and be a victim to our circumstances, the news, the weather, the mother-in-law, or whatever it is for you that you think someone else is stopping that. Or we can say, you know what, it might be a tough pill to swallow, but where you are now is a direct product of every thought you've had, every belief you've programmed, and every action you've taken. But when you realize that, you're like, oh, awesome. So if I get clear on what I want and I align with who I am and I take action from a place of allowing, then I can be in control of my words, thoughts, and actions and emotions. The four things, I love that your name is Harmony, because I love music and I love singing harmony. And like, you are in harmony. Your thoughts, your emotions, and your words and your actions are in beautiful resonance. And that's why you're aligned, right? And when we all find that in ourselves, it's very powerful. So I just want to say gratitude is something we can learn by taking time to be still, by appreciating what we have, and by being in the moment. Thank you.
Thank you as well, Michael, for sharing. And that's and again, even just you sharing that, like, with us doing these broadcasts, there's multiple layers of intention, but a big part of it is team building, synergizing, coming together. And how we do that is by seeing more of each other. And so by you, Michael, just sharing that, by you sharing about your past with your sister, like, that's something that I didn't know about, that wasn't previously a part of your story that I was aware about. And now by you sharing that, by me having the opportunity to see that, I'm able to practice, like, seeing you with, like, I level of gratitude should almost be infinite, right? It's not like, oh, I'm more grateful for you now, but it's just like my understanding and my gratitude for you is deeper. There's a deeper layer to it, to be able to understand more of your story. And I think that's a big thing, is that, like, again, gratitude and stories go hand in hand. And oftentimes, if you were to just, like, walk by someone on the street and they were a stranger, you wouldn't really think much of them. Their life is separate from yours. But suddenly, say if you were to walk by and in a whisper of your ear, you got their entire life story downloaded into your consciousness, you'd probably be like, hey, like, can I give you a hug? Like, I just like, oh my goodness, like, for what you've been through, for what you've gone through. Every single person is, like, going through, like, the hard, the beautiful, the ups, the downs. And this is why we need to be there for each other. This is why we need to practice gratitude. So, Michael, thank you again for sharing that, and for being and again for sharing your perspective on that experience and how it in itself has continued to serve. And just related to death and being able to talk about that, one thing I'll just say very simply is the idea that when people pass on, I like to share this phrase, the idea that they live on through the love that we share. So in that sense, it's just like, I honor those who have passed, those who have been a part of my path, by continuing to show up with even more love, with even more presence today, here and now. So
thank you. And if I can quickly just add to that, that so resonates, because I think there is no opposite of life. People think it's life and death, but there's birth and death, but life is infinite. The light is infinite. In the absolute, we're just love. So our soul and energy goes on forever. Darlene has never left me. She's with me now. She's with me in this room. And I'm very connected with my grandfather on my mom's side, who I never met, but I know he's one of my guides, and I know that my sister watches over my son. So we're never too far from them when we do go inward and take time to feel that and lift the veil.
That's very powerful. And again, that I'll just say this. And Taylor, are you ready to go next? Is that cool? Yeah. Yeah, just on that theme, because we haven't dived into it yet. But again, the idea of practicing gratitude for our ancestors, for our family, like our immediate family, but also those who have come, perhaps even lineages, generations before us. That's a very important thing. And again, just kind of echoing with what Michael's saying, is that when we practice gratitude, we also kind of invite that energy into our story, so it's like, oh, I'm grateful for the ways in which my grandfather and my grandmothers influenced me, and I express my love to them. And again, it's like, as you do this, it kind of like sends out the signal to the universe that kind of activates their energy and kind of like brings it into your field. And you can get as metaphysical or non-metaphysical as you want to that. Even just the thought of them being in your consciousness is something that can kind of, again, just like add like a sense of calmness or awareness. Or it's just like, oh, like what would granddad do in this moment, or what would he have said, or something like that. You can kind of like bring their voice into your awareness. So let us continue to practice walking today like as we walk with like 1,000 generations with us, literally walking with us. And the one thing I'll just say real quick, and we'll pass it over to Taylor, it was something I thought of earlier, but I just didn't get to saying it. And Harmony was talking about this, the idea of just being like acknowledging how blessed, how quote unquote privileged so many of us are. Houses, like all of us, computers, food, things of that manner. And being able to invite ourselves to like, yes, take a moment to like be in that place of gratitude, and then to be able to like go back to that question of being able to like reflect on what is needed. Meaning, how can I use this privilege that I'm grateful for to be able to help others, to be able to expand compassion, to be able to create my art, to thrive as an entrepreneur, to send out a message, to change the world. And so for myself, it's like, I'm grateful for the fact that as I'm continuing to grow as an entrepreneur, I'm able to still be at home with my family. And this is something that, some people might judge. They'd be like, oh, you're X number of years old and you're living with your family. You should be out on your own and da 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 da. But at the same time, I know there are people who'd be like, wow, like I would love to still be with my mom and my dad and my dog all in one house together. Like, and so for me, knowing that this in itself will not last forever, A, because I don't plan on making it last forever. I don't plan on staying here forever. But B, you never know what tomorrow will bring. And so for myself, the fact that like, yes, I'm here with my family, but yes, to be able to be in this place of quote unquote privilege, I've been raised in a comfortable situation. Let me use this privilege to be able to show up with as much purpose as possible, to use it as a launch pad to help change the world. And so I think it's one of those things where it's like, if you acknowledge you're in a place where you can make a difference because you're privileged, then you are in some ways obligated to make a difference. Not necessarily obligated, but more so invited, called forth. It's a part of your purpose. It's a part of your destiny. And again, it's one of those simple things where it's like, I used to complain about, it's a saying. I used to complain about having no shoes until I saw a man with no feet, sort of thing, right? So I think for a lot of us, when we don't practice gratitude, our brain finds things to complain about. It literally does. And there's an interesting kind of like idea that I heard about this, where it's like, back in the day, survival was our nature. We lived to survive every single day. How do we survive? How do we get warm, food, shelter, animals, hunt, things like that. Now in today's day and age, because we're so comfortable and because there's so little for us to be actually able to like be like constantly like worried about, quote unquote, in the basic sense of surviving, our brain will like create worries. It will look for things to stress us out. It will look to things to like, you know, be like all like jittered up about and things like that. But when we acknowledge that that's kind of like a thing that's happening, and that can actually be resolved by practicing gratitude. Oh, what's that? I'm complaining and I'm spending an hour focusing on the fact that like maybe a friend said something that I didn't disagree with, or maybe someone, I don't know, like something fairly trivial, right? But it's like, meanwhile, it's like, I'm going to start my day by writing down 10 things that I'm grateful for. And notice how that changes your mood. Notice how that changes your approach. Notice how it changes your energy through the entire day. And that's a practice that I give to people as a practical tip, as a challenge, as an invitation. Start your day by writing down 10 things that you're grateful for that day, and notice how it will change your life. And you may not need to do it forever. Try for a week. See what difference it makes, you know? And those can be simple things. I'm grateful for the community that I get to play alongside with and create awesome things with. I'm grateful for my breath. I'm grateful for my house. I'm grateful for my dog. I'm grateful for the challenges that I'm experiencing in my life right now that are calling me into more of my power. I'm grateful for the mysteries still ahead, right? Like to literally invite this as kind of an affirmation for us to be able to say this, suddenly the universe will respond, and it will be able to start sending us a different story. Things will start popping up a little bit differently. Our perception will start opening. If we spend all our time in our head kind of focusing on, I don't want to just say the little things because it's all relative, then we might be missing the things right in front of us. So again, it brings it back to practicing being present in this moment. So I just invite everybody here to just connect with our breath, and we'll pass it to Taylor in a second. And let's just literally, I want everybody here to just practice being grateful for their breath. Meaning, I want you to pay attention to your breath right now, perhaps in a way that you haven't done maybe ever or months. And I want you to like notice the subtleties of it. Notice like another layer of texture to your breath. So go ahead right now. Just take a couple breaths. And so even just that, like me just reflecting, like when I take a moment to really focus on my breath, it's much easier to realize that like I'm not just breathing, I'm actually like breathing in life. Like I'm breathing in time. I'm breathing in existence. The breath is the reason why I'm here. It's the reason why I get to experience this moment. Like that's deep. That's like powerful. Suddenly the breath isn't just this thing where it's just happening in the background. Suddenly the breath becomes like the nexus point for our very existence. And I'll just say this one last thing and pass it to Taylor. When we focus on our breath as a simple practice, allow it to also be able to remind us that we are here in this physical body, in this physical vessel, as a soul, as a spirit, as consciousness, as a multidimensional being. And I invite you to be reminded of the fact, quote unquote fact, that there are probably, quote unquote probably, billions and millions and trillions of other disincarnated entities or spirits or souls that would probably love to be in a physical human form right now. That would probably love to be able to feel the texture of their own skin, to feel the breath in their lungs, to feel the heartbeat, to have memories, to have a story, and to have a future to look forward to. We easily fall out of gratitude when we kind of, again, lose track of the story that we're sharing, or we're living somebody else's story. Oh, you're just a number. Oh, you're just a consumer. Oh, you just need to focus on X, Y, Z. Let us bring our story back. Let us bring it back to the breath. Let us bring it back to that multidimensional perspective, and let that gratitude propel us into purpose, propel us into deeper service, propel us into creating this more ripples of this wave of awareness and compassion, and shifting the consciousness to realize our connection, our unity, to see others as an extension of ourselves, and to invite others to practice being in that place of gratitude themselves, to bring forth the magic into this world. That has always been, to be ambassadors of it, a voice for it. Taylor, I'll pass it over to you. And again, for anybody here, if this resonates with you, if you're just enjoying this, please feel free to drop some 1111s in the comments. And thank you again, everyone, for being here. It's great to see so many people tuned in. And as we're doing this, I just invite everyone in the vision of gratitude. Imagine all of us around this round table, around this synergy circle. So imagine you could literally, like, this could be a big circle. You could imagine like 30 people, 100 people, but imagine all of us here together. And why are we here? Because we care about ourselves, about community, about the future, about the past, about shifting consciousness, about the purpose, about making a difference, and about leading the way. So thank you everyone. This is an investment for yourself. So thank you for allowing the shift to be carried with you. And for all of us, as we carry this forward beyond our broadcast, let us just be slightly more reminded of the importance of gratitude and allow others to be able to feel that and practice that themselves. Taylor, passing it over to you. Please feel free to introduce yourself as you wish. And again, if you want to go back to the question, what does gratitude mean to you and things that you're grateful for? Go right ahead, Taylor, and welcome back.
Awesome. Thank you. Hey, everyone. Thanks, Brendon, for having me on here. For those of you who don't know me, I am in Massachusetts in the United States. I'm an energy healer. I also do, IT work during the day, spiritual guru at night. So that's kind of a little bit about me. But, I just wanted to say that tonight, especially, like, I'm honored to be here because listening to everyone's story beforehand has been so humbling. Like, my heart is full just hearing your experiences and your journey. And it's really inspiring just to see like how these really dark pivotal moments in your life are the most transformative, and how you all have taken that and just invested it into your work to do something better and greater and to share your light with everybody else. So it's really inspiring to hear that, because these moments we can hold on to, and then in the future when we come into these dark pivotal moments, we'll look back and say like, hey, these guys went through some really dark stuff, and look at the awesome work that they're doing, and now I have the opportunity to get through that so that I can do the same thing for other people. So I hope that you guys can see that as well, that what you're doing now and what you have done is really truly inspiring and helping other people to do the same thing in the future. So it's really beautiful, and for you, Brendon, to put this on here is awesome to create that platform. So definitely grateful for that, for you all. And I just kind of wanted to say too, like in terms of gratitude, I like to look at things in terms of like energy. I definitely, is my belief that we are souls living a human experience, and that everything is like an energy exchange. So for me, gratitude is really like finding that honor in that, energy exchange, and, seeing, and actually like honoring and fully receiving, what is being given to us, but also like what we are giving to other people. So gratitude for me is kind of like just finding honor in that energy exchange. So hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. And something that I've kind of been working on too with my daily gratitude practices is, let's see, I've been reading Dr. Joe Dispenza, Dr. Bradley Nelson. They talk a lot about, trapped emotions, emotion code, shifting consciousness, and going into the super consciousness with gratitude and like elevated emotions. And something that, Joe Dispenza talks about is blessings of the energy centers, and bringing in like these higher vibration emotions. Gratitude, I think, is like his top one that he recommends. It's like probably one of the highest. and blessing that energy center, and then using that energy and then putting it back out into your aura, so that you're kind of attracting that energy into your life going forward, and kind of manifesting the life that you want and bringing in all that abundance and so forth. So I think that's kind of like a great practice that I would recommend, and something that I'm kind of working on lately, to bring it back into my life, is to just kind of, spend these moments of gratitude, and then putting that back into our body, so then we can then radiate and give that back to other people. So it's definitely a good practice, and something that I've kind of found in doing that is, you do find these like shifts in perception. A lot of times when we are having these like moments, we always kind of come from a mindset of lack, like, why didn't I get this, why didn't this person show up, why are they doing this to me? And at the same time, I think, Brendon, you kind of mentioned this earlier too, sometimes these things kind of happen out of protection. Like, for example, at work the other day, I had, some of the managers were complaining about how like this person that they were supposed to interview like completely blew them off, and they were all upset about it. Like, oh, I can't believe they did that. They didn't even call. How dare them? Was it something I did wrong? Like all these things. And, I just said to them, how awesome is it that the universe just gave you a blessing and not having the wrong person get hired into your company? And they were like, oh my God, that's amazing. I can't believe I didn't think of that before. So, in practicing gratitude and kind of seeing things from a slightly different angle, and, shifting that perception a little bit, we can kind of see things as more of a blessing. Every action, every consequence, um, you know, is truly for our benefit, whether we can see it now or not. So I just kind of wanted to share that with you guys, and hopefully that made sense, but thank you.
Beautiful. Awesome. Thank you, Taylor. I think, I think that's the one with like the interview. I think that's a simple but relative relatable example. You're right. Like sometimes we only practice gratitude when it's focusing on what we get, but sometimes it's like being grateful for what we didn't get, and but still getting something out of that, because again, it's the universe. I'm sure, hands up if anybody has ever noticed this, that the universe will give us what we need, not what we want. Has that ever happened to anyone? Has that ever been a thing, right?
I always say the universe has a better plan than we do.
That's it, right? That's it. And again, and that's where like it really brings it back to trust. And I know for myself, if I ever find at times where maybe, like things are getting a little shaky, or things are a little uncertain, or things are a little bit mysterious, even in those moments, I invite myself back to an idea that brings it back to gratitude, where I remind myself that like this too, this is the perfect reality. Meaning that if things were meant to go differently, they would go differently. Meaning that there is nothing that's meant for you that will not come to you, type thing. However, perhaps that's relative, because I feel like there are windows of opportunity where, again, it's when we are grateful and when we are present, I feel it gives us the opportunity to accelerate the rate in which gifts arrive to us. Because I think that's the thing, is that I think moments arrive to us when we're ready for them. And so if there's something where it's like there's a moment of opportunity, and you're not really conscious enough to kind of get it, and then you might think like, oh, I didn't get that thing, maybe it just meant that it was going to come to you later, or come around again in another form, or something like that. But I do feel that again, it's kind of a bit of a half and half, where it's like this is the perfect reality, but it still requires responsibility. It still requires meeting the universe halfway. And when we are going through those moments where things feel like you're just like, oh, this isn't as fun as I want it to be, even then, to be able to remind ourselves to think that like this too is the perfect reality. This too is like there's more of the picture that maybe I haven't seen yet. But again, that's just from my own personal experience that I've reflected on that. And then lo and behold, usually what happens a week later, a couple weeks, maybe even hours later, things will suddenly kind of like shift into a phase of clarity. So again, it's kind of like we go through those moments of chaos and uncertainty. Literally, they're there sometimes to like test our resolve. They're there to kind of like to challenge our ego. And again, like the ego will be the part of us that will kind of like focus on the lack or focus in fear, or again focus on like the conservation of our personality, or something that's really really, you know, like ingrained into our story. But I think gratitude is something that happens over time, and I think that when we are challenged, it is actually inviting us to practice gratitude in other forms, and to practice being able to like understand more about what gratitude means to us. So we'll pass it around the talking stick a little bit more. I just want to take a crack at this too and express a little bit of gratitude too, because I haven't officially done that. Michael, do you need to head out? Does anybody here need to head out soon? If so, let me know, because I just want to keep an eye on things. But we'll probably wrap this broadcast up, and I would say like within the next 40 minutes. Okay, so I just want to practice communicating here, just to invite myself to ask myself, okay, be like, okay, what does gratefulness mean to me? Gratitude to me is sometimes synonymous with loving acceptance. And to have gratitude for someone else means seeing them for who they are, accepting them for who they are fully, opposed to maybe who you want them to be, who you expect them to be. And I feel that when we do see people fully as who they are, as the special person that they are, as the gifts that they have to share, then we can allow ourselves to be able to celebrate that together. And it allows them to feel safe in expressing it. So I feel gratitude is a catalyst. Gratitude is a catalyst for expression, for creativity, for more compassion, for more presence. I feel that gratitude is a portal that connects us closer to God. And I use the term God in a very open-ended way. It connects us to the present moment. I feel that one of the reasons why we are literally here on earth in this physical form is to experience gratitude, is to experience joy. And now joy and gratitude aren't always synonymous. They don't always happen at the same time. But I do think that it is our job, our purpose, our opportunity to practice inviting in as much joy as we can into our life. And I feel that the portal and the key to doing that is gratitude. How can you expect, because when you think about it, can you be joyful without being grateful? Probably, I don't know. Like, I don't think so, because if you're not grateful, then that means you're probably complaining about something. Something's off, out of your way of how you want it to be, right? It's one of those things where I saw like a quote about this. It's like very simple but very relatable. It's like this isn't verbatim, but it's basically like if it's snowing, you have a choice to either love the snow or to hate the snow, but it's not going to change the fact that it's still snowing. Same with rain, right? Like, it's like, okay, like me complaining about this won't necessarily change it, but it changes how I relate to it. But at the same time, I think at the same time, gratitude, there's another layer to it. And sometimes gratitude can be in our ability to be able to like see when things aren't right, to see when there is imbalance, to see when there is injustice. And so we should be grateful for when we see the things in our world that don't align, that aren't the way we want. Oh, what's that? The Amazon is on fire? I'm not grateful for the fact that the Amazon's on fire, but I am grateful for my ability to observe my anger towards that, because that's calling that's moving the story forward. That's reflecting the fact that I care. So again, I think anger in itself, there's a fractal of gratitude inside that anger when we can find it, and when we can acknowledge and again acknowledge that, like, there's no just one emotion that we experience. It's always like, it's almost like colors of emotion kind of mixing together in a sense. So you can be grateful, you can be joyful, you can be angry and grateful at the same time. You can be sad and grateful at the same time. You can be grateful and lonely at the same time, right? Sometimes that happens where our emotions kind of cross over one another, where it's like, oh, I'm sad that I'm alone right now, but I'm grateful to be able to spend this time perhaps getting used to more of myself, to get to spend time more of myself. Oh, what's that? Like, I have to like wake up and go run 10 miles. I'm not really super happy about doing that, but I'm grateful about my choice to make that and to show up to that challenge, because I know it's going to transform me. And then once I get to that end, I'm going to be grateful that I did it in the first place, type thing. So again, I think gratitude is a fundamental piece of every experience. And I invite all of us to practice being grateful as a mindful practice. After you listen to this broadcast, even right now, I literally want you, the next thing that you do after this broadcast, whether you go to the bathroom, have some tea, whatever you're doing, I want you to just practice being grateful for the little things. For the little things. I'll just give you a little bit here and then I'll pass the talking stick. Next time you go wash your hands, I want you to practice being like super, super present just with the feeling of water on your hands. Something as simple as that. And just be like, whoa, like this is actually like really magical. Like what is like, and it's in a tap. And again, kind of with what Harmony was kind of talking about this earlier, like to be grateful of kind of like the story beyond the present moment. Be like, boom, 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 boom. Oh my God, like there's water coming out of this tap because some guy built this tap, and then some plumbers assembled this, and then some people built this house, and 100 years ago they like, these were all farms, and then these like you know. So again, practice that next sip of tea you have. Practice being grateful for that. Practice the next opportunity you have to go up to someone and say that you love them. Practice the opportunity to be able to speak inside of your own heart and to speak love into those that you love who may not even be here. Allow yourself to just be grateful in any moment. And I think when you do that, I think it changes the way you show up to life, and it gives you what you are worthy of. Everybody here deserves to experience joy. Everybody here deserves a life of gratitude every single day. And I think by us individually anchoring that into ourselves, it's kind of like the 100th monkey effect. It's like we're bringing it into the field. We're bringing it into the matrix. So in a very selfless way, your gratitude is actually changing the world, even if it's not externally expressed, which is crazy, right? It's just like, be like, oh, like in your mind, it's just be like, I'm going to go like help shift the paradigms today by going down to a river and being present with myself and journaling. That's literally changing the world, because in that moment, you're like anchoring in more of this gratitude, more of this magic. And then again, that becomes your character, becomes your way of being. Other people see that, and it invites them to feel it. It invites them to mimic it. It invites them to be able to be like, oh, sweet, I can live this way too. So I think this world needs a gratitude shift, a paradigm shift in gratitude. There's been a lot of separation. Let us be grateful for our ability to acknowledge that these stories of separation have served their purpose to propel us into unity, and allow that to give us more of our purpose and just how we show up every single day. So I'll pass the talking stick around. If anybody else wants to jump in just on anything, again, we're just kind of popcorn style free flow right now. And we can pass it over to Josslyn in the next moment. But before we do that, if anybody, because again, we're just kind of opening up into free flow. If anybody wants to respond or reply to anything that I'm saying. And let me just take a moment here. I just want to be able to like literally express gratitude for things that I'm grateful for here. Gratitude to you, the person listening to this, the individual relationship that me and you are forming. I am grateful for that. I am grateful for this opportunity for us to use the magic of techno shamanism, electronics, and all of that, for us to be able to build this relationship and to support each other in our stories. I'm grateful to be able to see each other. Even if you're a person listening to this who I haven't messaged yet, we haven't talked, I don't know about your life, I'm still grateful for you. I'm grateful for the story that I don't know. I am grateful for the things that have brought you to where you are now, because you are here, and that is the most important thing to me in this moment, is us being here right now, knowing that we will continue to move into where we are in the future, needed to be in the future. So I'm grateful for everybody here in the community. I'm grateful for everybody who engages. I'm grateful for those who have helped me get here. I was thinking about this even at the beginning of the broadcast, where it's like, yes, I'm grateful for my parents, my family, my dog. How many people thought about pets when they thought about gratitude, right? It's like, oh, I'm grateful for my cat. I'm grateful for my cat who like makes those smelly farts, because I'm gonna miss him when I'm gone. You know, think about it. Think about that. Maybe not particularly that, but you get the idea, right? I'm grateful for that friend who annoys me sometimes, because I know that this is just a stage, and another chapter will move on, and maybe they'll be living in Australia and I won't see him again. You never know. And I'm grateful for my family, again, my grandparents, my ancestors. And I'll say this, I'm grateful for the future in a deep way, and knowing that that's kind of like anchoring us through this moment. I'm grateful in my ability to show up in this present moment, where even right now, as much as I'm communicating, it's more so me kind of just showing up. And I'm grateful for the path that is laid down already, if that makes sense. I'm grateful for the fact that when we are in our flow, there is already a stream for which our water can run. A lot of times we get into this story where it's just like, how am I supposed to change the world? I don't know what to do. But what if we knew that stream was already there, that the path was already before us, and part of all we need to do is simply ask what is needed. What is that next step? And not to try and focus 50 steps ahead, but just that next step, because you're only going to take one at a time anyways. So I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for this step, and I'm grateful for the next step, and the next step, and the next step, and the next step. And I'm grateful for the future and my ancestors in the future. And I'm grateful for the aliens on other planets. And I'm grateful for Sasquatch. Shout out to Sasquatch. I have to give a shout out to Sasquatch. And yeah. Again, I think it's really one of those things where it's like, there's gratitude to be found for everything in every moment, because every single thing is godness, is usness. It's all us. It's all love. It's all light. It's all shadow. It's all the yin yang. It's all part of the story. It's all serving. It's all here. It's all meant to be seen. And so when we hold our hearts in a place of gratitude, it allows us to see more clearly, see things as they are, and see the place in the story that they serve. So I'm thankful, and I'm grateful for everybody here. And I'm literally, I like that the word is grateful, or because like it is literally to be full, to fill ourselves with gratefulness. And so let us do that every single day. We will literally fill our cups with gratefulness. And then as we fill our cups, we can pour that onto other people and allow them to be grateful, and allow them. And again, I think this is the thing. I think this is actually the big thing, is that until people receive gratitude, they have a hard time expressing it. And so I think that's what we need to do, is we need to express our gratitude to other people, and kind of unconsciously, subconsciously, they will start expressing gratitude to others without us having to say like, hey, you should express more gratitude because we're trying to start this whole change reaction to change the world. Chain reaction. But I think that is really what is needed. So I invite everybody here as a call to action to bring more mindfulness and to express your gratitude to the people who you meet tomorrow. the people who you meet later on, the people who you spent time with over the weekend. For those of you who just spent time with family over Thanksgiving, how present were you? Were you fully present? Were you just kind of like, oh, I'm just here for the food. I'm just here for the pie, you know? Maybe. How would it feel for you to like call up that family member who you maybe just spent Thanksgiving with and just be like, hey, I just want to say that I'm really grateful for you inviting us over or for you being there. And please feel free to reach out to me anytime. And I'd love to be able to chat more. And I love you and thank you for being a part of my life. You know? Honestly, words like that, when heartfully expressed, if that person on the other line, if they needed to hear that, what's it gonna do? Boom. Like something will like open up inside of them and they'll be like, oh my God, like years of like healing just kind of came to the surface. And suddenly like that can be like a cathartic thing. It's crazy how expressing gratitude, seeing other people, acknowledging them, communicating that love can literally be like a key that like opens their heart, and then like a flood of like kind of like love and emotion and sometimes like happiness and joy in it, and it will come through like physically, like through tears and things like that. And if that's the case, even if you're just kind of even in this broadcast, like, are you feeling that? Are you feeling like a kind of like a key being turned in your heart? Are you kind of like feeling this like, damn, you know, like, oh, like what I would like, I'm gonna make that phone call. I'm gonna send that message. I'm gonna express my gratitude. And you do it for them, but you do it for you too, and you do it for the collective, and you do it because it's something that it's okay to be reminded of. But moving forward, let us invite ourselves to not have to think twice about it. Let us make that a habit. Let us make that a routine. Let us check in with each other. So I'm grateful for all of us for holding space together and for constantly growing as a team and for constantly being flexible and for constantly understanding that we're not here to be perfect people. That even Mr. Rogers had a temper. He did. Mr. Rogers, like that was his thing, right? It's like he dealt with heavy stuff. He carried a heavy burden. He dealt with some real topics to try and help people in some powerful ways to change the world. But he too knew how to be able to like move those emotions and the importance of expressing our feelings and communicating our feelings. So I'm grateful here for this community, for us as an opportunity to practice communicating our feelings, opening our heart, and to practice cultivating the gratitude that we are creating here as a team that will continue to be a beautiful foundation as we move forward into the future, creating amazing things together. So thank you everyone for all that you have been, all that you are, and all that you're becoming. So thank you. Okay. I'm grateful for you guys listening to me babble on for a few minutes there. Thanks, team. All right. If anybody wants to jump in, please feel free. So we still have Michael, Harmony, Taylor, and Josslyn as well. And we haven't heard from Josslyn officially. If anybody would like to jump in just before we pass it over to Josslyn. Otherwise, Josslyn, give me a thumbs up if you want to. Are you good to go now? Yeah? Okay, cool. All right, so Josslyn, we'll pass it over to you. You can give yourself a brief introduction. One thing I will just say real quick for everybody here, anybody during this broadcast that you've heard, be sure to check the show notes on YouTube after the broadcast if you're listening to this live, to find the links to everybody here. So links to Louis, Philo, Harmony, Michael, Taylor, and Josslyn during this broadcast. So that way you can follow them on Instagram and connect with them further. And if you haven't already yet, please feel free to hit the like button on YouTube, share it, comment, all that good stuff. I'm grateful for it. Thank you. All right, Josslyn, we'll pass the talking stick over to you. And again, we were kind of going around the circle of like, what does gratitude mean to you? What does being grateful mean to you? Any ways you incorporate that into your practice, your life, and things that you're grateful for that you would like to be able to practice expressing. When you're ready, go ahead, Josslyn. And we're grateful to have you here. And just double check. Okay, now you're unmuted. Okay, you're good to go.
Well, hi. Thanks for having me on. I'm grateful to be on here. And let me just preface what I'm about to say by first saying I agree with what everyone is saying about gratitude, and especially like the vibration and the energy of gratitude is the way to move forward. Okay, so before I give my take on this, I just wanted to give that little bit of a heads up because it might be a little bit of a different perspective. There's two forms of gratitude. Okay. And kind of like what you were saying, Brendon, how there's like layers, of emotions behind gratitude, and, because they're brain chemical releases that are tied to thoughts. And the thing that I've noticed in life is like I said, there's two forms of gratitude. There's one that's been passed down from our parents of, things we should be grateful for. And then there's the form that the universe takes you on a path to fully experience gratitude. Now, from our parents, since our parents are human and they have their faults like we all do, they have fear, shame, and guilt underneath in layers of emotions, right? And especially when we're talking about entrepreneurship, it's an alchemizing process. It's going back through your psychological development to alchemize anything that's low vibrational within your body. So if you had parents that had like shame, guilt, and fear, and they felt disempowered in life, then what they could end up teaching us was to be grateful with shame tied to it. So gratitude, there's one side of gratitude that can be used as a manipulation, okay, to keep us from rising to our full potential. So there's these different types. You know how when you're younger and you've got food on your plate and you don't finish all the food because your body is saying I'm done eating, but your parents maybe say something like they worked really hard to give you that food. So they say there are starving children in Africa. Shame and guilt. So there's this process, especially that keeps us kind of like tied to family, using gratitude as a manipulation. Okay. And so I know it sounds like maybe a negative perspective, but the thing that I've found really fascinating is that a lot, like throughout my process of, going through my own entrepreneurship and all of that, is that I was actually kind of hindering myself with gratitude in ways. Okay. And bear with me, because the thing that I found is the universe was taking me. I would say all these gratitude filled things like I'm so grateful to be with my family, I'm so grateful to have a roof over my head, but it wasn't until I actually went out and started experiencing, like going out in exploration, being on public transportation, and seeing for myself someone that was missing a leg or something, that made me really grateful for everything that I have, my health, and everything that everyone is saying. But I realized that, like I was saying, with my family and a time in my life when I didn't really have as much independence as I wanted, and I had to be at my family's house, I know the whole time I was actually being kept there because of a little bit of manipulation. And so that was kind of an alchemization that I had to go through personally for myself. I feel like most humans do need to go through that, because when we're talking about empaths and, like becoming empowered, and a lot of us are on this path, gratitude is the way to raise your vibration and to get in touch with the universe. But it can also be used against us. Okay. I know this sounds so negative, but I've watched interviews of psychopaths and sociopaths where they will specifically do things for more empathic people to like give them things when they're in a vulnerable place in life. Because when someone has a conscience and they feel gratitude, they're going to feel like I need to do something in return, or you know what I'm saying? It can be used against you. And that's something that I've noticed, especially recently, that's why this topic is so fascinating to me, because I was keeping myself surrounded by people that maybe weren't at the same vibration that I've been elevating to, because I felt tied to, like obligated in some ways to suppress myself to be with them, because these are the people that have done so much for me throughout my life, you know? So there was a point where you have to almost like shut off the emotional part and still feel gratitude, but you've got to be conscious of the shadow part that sometimes comes along with gratitude, you know? So those are my thoughts.
That's
I mean,
very,
I
yeah.
totally agree with everyone's saying, but
You're right. Yeah, like that's a very wise way of seeing it, Josslyn. I appreciate you bringing that perspective to the circle, because I hadn't really, until you mentioned that, it wasn't something that I was actively thinking about within this discussion. And I'm just going to kind of create a context here, and you tell me if this is kind of like what you mean, and anybody else we can kind of jump in on this. But yeah, basically like, in situations where people may be less than well off, meaning that certain needs are perhaps not being met, or certain wants that they have are not being fulfilled, that a person can kind of like step in and kind of like fill those needs and fill those wants, but sometimes do it in a way that like shifts power dynamics.
yeah.
And as a result of that, someone, who may be grateful for the fact that, oh, maybe, like this person's letting me stay at their house or something like that. But then if that relationship isn't properly managed, isn't properly healthy, isn't balanced, or if there's ulterior motives, things can, I can understand how like, so it's important to be able to just be aware. And again, I think it really just comes back to like checking in and making sure that like, how is everyone feeling right now with what we are doing, because you're right, like even at times when we are giving, when we as individuals are giving, I think it's important that sometimes we don't want to give in a way that might put someone in a situation where they might feel like they can't return the favor or something like that. Like, say for example, like it's just like there might be a family that maybe needs some help, and there's like two guys at work together, and then Joe's like, like, oh, here's like $200 to help your family out or something like that. And then the other person suddenly is like, thanks, Joe. What do you want from me? Like, what is there something that I can give to you? How can this be reciprocated? Or again, maybe Joe is just like, no, like literally I'm not doing this because I'm expecting something in return. Like, I'm doing this from like the bottom of my heart, and I hope the best. And it's just kind of like doing what I feel is needed in that moment. It's an interesting thing to just try and formulate examples of off the top of my head. But you're right. I definitely see moments when there is lack. Sometimes okay, I'll just say this. If we're in a place where we're finding ourselves in a situation where something has been given to us, we just need to be able to like check in and communicate how that makes us feel. And if it doesn't feel healthy, then it's ultimately up to us to be able to communicate that, and to at sometimes be able to say like, thanks but no thanks type thing. Because gratitude can come in many different forms. Gratitude comes in being able to like say no, being able to set boundaries, being able to like know when perhaps like a relationship has served its purpose and it's ready to kind of like move on to another thing. But yeah, Josslyn, I'll just pass back to you, since obviously you brought this topic, and again, we can just kind of go around the circle, and we do have Mitch just recently joined, so thank you, Mitch, for joining. But I think again, it's a worthwhile perspective to bring to the circle, Josslyn. So I appreciate that as well, in terms of like the many ways in which gratitude. It's interesting. It's interesting. Wow, life's so gray sometimes. And I don't mean that, I just black and white gray. So, but Josslyn, go ahead, passing back to you. And again, I was just kind of saying that to like make sure that like I was on the same page as you. Is that what you're
Yeah, I'm glad that you kind of like reiterated it, because sometimes like when I'm trying to get a thought across, like I appreciate the talking back and forth because it helps to like clarify exactly the point. So yeah, like the gratitude. And it is interesting because you do have to go back and check with your body. You know, there are the two aspects of you. Everyone knows, you know, there's the ego part, but the ego can be the shadow. It can be something that you cannot see, literally. It's in your blind side. And so there's this really interesting book called The Body Keeps Score. And it talks about how trauma can literally be stored in your body, and that can accumulate into, you know, experiences that get holographically kind of projected from our own chemical being. So if you've got trauma from childhood and then you keep going throughout experiences and you don't understand that you're operating from a fear in your subconscious mind, like a fear programming, then your nervous system is going to actually like create experiences that are traumatic that continue to get bigger as you get older and older. So that's why, you know, lately I was looking at how, you know, just in my own experience, when people had provided something for me during a time where I was at my most vulnerable, and, you know, like when my health had completely deteriorated, I had people that were helping me. And to this day, I'm unbelievably grateful for them. At the same time, people can do things from their own shadow. You know, if someone is afraid of being rejected or abandoned, then they can sometimes do things out of necessity, provide things for other people. And it's nothing bad, but it's unconsciously done to keep people in our lives, to keep us safe. And so if you are kind of out of touch with your own shadow within yourself, how are you going to be able to see that there's actually some type of manipulation behind someone giving something to you, and then you being grateful and you feeling and keeping yourself maybe in a situation or in a toxic environment or in toxic relationships because that gratitude keeps you there? Isn't that interesting? You know, like gratitude is, I think, when it's provided to us by the universe, that's when it's powerful. That's when it's at its most potent, when you're following that path of the universe, trusting that the universe is following the synchronicities and going along that path. It will provide you gratitude. It will show you situations where you can fully experience the vibration of gratitude. So that's why I was saying moments when I'd been homeless and not had anything, and when I would go out in public transportation and see people like worse off than me, I was like, I'm doing good, you know, like I'm doing really good. And I just felt that emotion, that high. That's when it's legit.
If I could jump in quickly, I love that you said vibration of grateful, because there is a vibration to it. And I think, first of all, I honor you for sharing and what your vantage point and experience is with that, because I think it's really important and people need to hear that. We've all had people do things for us, and sometimes they call it the sponsoring thought or the sponsoring intention behind what you're doing may be malicious in nature. And until our vibration is high enough that we set that boundary, we may feel obligation, we may feel law of reciprocity, we may feel tied that we need to do it because that's what, you know, they gave to us and we just can't do it. And that's a self-worth thing and a vibration thing, and eventually our vibration gets high enough where we set those boundaries. And now, just like vibration, behind a vibration and everything is energy, it's a frequency. So when we get to a certain awareness, a certain frequency, that's when you feel gratitude for the people. You said you were on the street, but still felt gratitude for someone else. How powerful is that? I did a talk at an open door session one night, and one of the people that had just come back from Peru. And this is my reset. When I need to reset and be grateful, when I'm feeling entitled at all, I remember the story of this young guy. This whole community lived in the garbage. They lived in a dump, basically, right? And he's talking to this 9-year-old boy. And as he's talking to the 9-year-old boy, the boy starts to cry. And the guy asked him what was wrong. And he said, I worry about the poor people. So here he was living in a dump, 9 years old, but that's all he had ever known. To him, he had connection, he had community, they had food, they had shelter. So he was worrying about the poor people. So when I think about that 9-year-old boy in Peru living in a dump, worrying about other people, it really helps put things in perspective. So I love that you shared that you had gratitude even when you were at a point where you maybe were at a low place or felt you're at a low place, but your heart and your compassion still felt gratitude for someone else. And that is a vibration that's pure from the universe. It's not out of obligation or reciprocity. It's definitely gratitude. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you, Josslyn. Thank you, Michael, as well. And we'll kind of just kind of like, if anybody else has any thoughts they want to share on this, because again, I think it's what Josslyn was saying. The idea that sometimes we have to be aware of our own shadows showing up in a form in which we may unconsciously manipulate someone else's need for gratitude. And again, I'm sure we've seen this either in, maybe we've been in this situation where, again, it's like it oftentimes, and this is more just kind of like a generic example. Yeah, it will show up, particularly in relationships, where people will stay in a relationship for the wrong reason. Be like, why are you with that person? They don't treat you very well. Oh, but they bought me a car and I like their pool and I like all the amenities and I like the convenience and the comfort and the this and the this and the this and the this. And I'm so grateful for the fact that I get to live in their mansion or something like that, right? Like how many, you can see this is kind of like showing up in like stereotypical stories of, quote unquote, like, I don't know, gold diggers. Is that the right term or something like that? I guess, right? Which again could go almost like in the opposite way where they're like taking advantage of someone else's gratitude, or generosity would be they're taking advantage of someone else's generosity. So again, I think it's acknowledging that we as humans constantly have this yearning for like want and need and give and take and things like that. So we have to be very mindful of how that energy exchange is playing out. And does it feel healthy? And like what Michael and Josslyn was saying, I think it's one of those things where if you literally just take a moment to check in with your body and just be like, how does this feel? And if there's even like a little inkling of you that's just like, this feels a little bit off, then that means you need to look deeper, right? It's one of those things where like, for those of us who are getting familiar with listening to our intuition, we'll be able to navigate ourselves with that, where if there's like a decision that we're going to make and you'll be able to check in and be like, okay, does anything feel like off? Like, should I be doing this? Be like, no, feels good. Okay, sweet. I'm going to do it. But again, if you kind of like get those moments where you're just like, does this feel off? And be like, like maybe I shouldn't be doing this. Then that's, again, something we need to get good at listening to. Whereas previously in the past, we might have gotten good at suppressing that or ignoring that. But again, I think the intelligence of our body tells us when things are healthy or unhealthy. But again, sometimes we don't know until we experience it. Sometimes it might be a situation in a relationship where maybe someone's like very controlling of the relationship and maybe they were kind of like trying to help someone and it really was coming from a place of love, but not healthy love. And oftentimes that action might come from the fact that as much as say for example, this person's like it doesn't want this other person to leave this relationship, and so it keeps thinking that it's like if it keeps giving to them, then they're going to stay here. Meanwhile, all they're doing is keeping them in a cage, and meanwhile, even though they think it's an act of love, it's actually coming from a place of fear because they're actually afraid of that other person leaving them, and they're afraid of that uncertainty in which they don't know how to love themselves type thing. So again, it can show up in very dynamic ways. So I'm grateful for us to be able to have this discussion because sometimes you're right. Gratitude can kind of be something that we need to check in with. How is our gratitude? Does it feel balanced? Does it feel healthy? Michael, you have to head out. Do you want to express just some closing gratitude before you do so?
Yeah,
yes, sir.
Yeah, for sure. Just want to say thank you. And I really appreciate you holding the space and facilitating this. I'm grateful that I ran into Brendon a few years back when I first moved to London, almost 4 years ago now. still have the badge you gave me. I was at Inspiration Fest, and for everyone that's on the Zoom call and all the listeners, because we're not separate, we're all connected, and our consciousness is doing a dance together tonight, all about joy, love, and gratitude. So thank you, and keep shining, and I see the light in you all.
Awesome. Thank you, Michael. And Doyle It In on Instagram is where you can find Michael. And I think the website is also doyleitin.com. But again, check out Doyle It In, spelled Doyleitin on Instagram, and you can connect with Michael there as well. So let's get close to wrapping up the broadcast in about the next 15 minutes, I would say. And Mitch, if you're able to jump on camera, go ahead, and we can pass the talking stick over to you. I did just want to check in. Harmony, Taylor, did either of you have any thoughts on kind of like what we were talking about there before we move into the next segment of the discussion? Taylor, go ahead.
So I don't know if this makes sense quite yet, but something that I was thinking about, and I apologize if you kind of covered this when I stepped away for a second, but something that I was kind of thinking about when you guys were just talking about, because I've also had a lot of personal experience, in my relationship, especially with family growing up, where they've kind of used that as like a manipulation tool. But looking at things kind of now, I would say gratitude is probably more of like a personal or individual experience or tool to kind of use on, I don't know, I haven't quite formed it yet, but rather than necessarily using it for others, I kind of see gratitude as a way to kind of bring the awareness or a shift within yourself, per se, like an inward type thing. Like, I almost feel like you can use gratitude or share your experience on gratitude to assist others in finding that personal, experience within themselves. But so I don't know if maybe that's on target with a lot of what you guys were just saying, but I don't know. That's something that I was just thinking about that I kind of wanted to share as far as the discussion goes, as far as gratitude being more of like a personal or individual experience versus kind of
agree.
sharing that with other people.
Yeah. If anybody wants to directly respond to Taylor, go ahead.
I'll jump in. And I completely agree. I think it is a very individual thing. But going back to even what Michael was saying about we're all one, we're all connected. We have more in common than all of us realize. And it's down to the vibrations. And a couple things I wanted to just point out really quickly is think about like your family structure. Okay. Usually there's like a sibling or a child that falls in the family that's maybe looked at as the spoiled one, or maybe like the youngest that gets the most, or, things like that. And maybe there's a little bit of resentment from the other siblings, and that can create like rivalry and competition, but all based off of shame, guilt, and fear. So the child might have actually been spoiled with that underlying, like, being given a lot of things for the purpose of keeping them close, making sure that child would never leave. It's a manipulation. So think about that. If that could have fallen into everyone's family dynamic, then this might affect more people than we all realize, because everyone has shame, guilt, and fear. And so if that's maybe like the family dynamic that we all have, then think about how those children maybe grow up to be gold diggers or, people like that, not even knowing that they're disempowering themselves by thinking they need someone else to provide for them, because that's what they grew up with, to be in those type of energy give and take dynamics. So the reason why I'm bringing that up is because going back to like I was in a situation that gratitude had kept me there for a really long time with people that were using that as a manipulation. And then I had an experience out in Hawaii. I went out there and worked on like an organic farm, and I had a lot of traumatic things happen while I was out there. And that's when I was realizing like the trauma that was stored in my body from childhood was being projected in this reality. You know, it was coming out into full fruition. And what's interesting is I went back to my hometown, and I felt safe, and I felt a different level of gratitude, which was great. The universe, I felt like, oh, okay, this really showed me a different perspective of the gratitude. But there's this other side of looking at, well, hold on a second. Here's that traumatic thing happened because it was an accumulation of the trauma from childhood, the shadow that was coming out in experiences later on in life. So gratitude is a very tricky thing. I just think it's a really fascinating like concept, because I believe wholeheartedly in, I do future self journaling, which is all about gratitude and creating who I want to be. And I think that process is powerful because you use gratitude, you use the vibration of it to create who you want to be. But there are some situations and people where it's like you have to be conscious of your gratitude. You know what I mean? Like, what's underneath the gratitude? What's motivating it? You know? What's the layer? Sorry,
Yeah,
I
what's
could
the
go on
subconscious?
forever with this, but
I'm sure we could. Yeah, I think Harmony, did you want to reply? I'm not sure if you do. Just go ahead and unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good now. Go ahead.
So yes, absolutely want to acknowledge what Josslyn's talking about with our projections and kind of the ancestral trauma that we're all working through at this time. And I think the shame and the scarcity and manipulation is kind of a universal thing that we're all working through. And through, like you said, the 100th monkey effect, and through our DNA, by working through those things in the moment and alchemizing, transforming, and transmuting those programs of fear and shame and guilt into that true universal gratitude is imperative in this time of what we're going through and the great shift. And I think that that's one of the biggest things, and it's kind of like the butterfly effect, you know, how he would go back and rewrite his memories, and then all of a sudden the future would be different. I think that that's what we're going through. Like you said, the lens in which we see life through actually changes, and we're able to have a different experience with our day-to-day experiences. We're able to have a different viewpoint on how that is actually interplaying with our reality. And I wanted to touch on what you were talking about, the sacred anger, and it made me think about how there's a saying, how we think that hate is the opposite of love, but it's really fear. And when we allow that feeling of anger to become sacred to where it's empowering us, and we're actually stepping into our power and defending what we know to be fully righteous and what we know to be the way that people should be treated, or true justice. When we step into those places of power, that is when we override fear. We're actually moving from a place of love and from that state of action in allowance, like Michael was talking about. You know, when we move from that space and really anchor that into ourselves and shift that perception, it shifts our paradigm extremely, and we're able to honor the journey of not only ourselves and others, but also others. And Michael was also talking about his experience with his sister, and how he went into, in that dream state, went into a place where he was connected to the person who created the crime that killed his sister. He actually apologized. And I think that that is one of the greatest healing tools, and it comes from gratitude. It's an ancient Hawaiian technique of Ho'onopono, yes. And it's really about, it's I'm thank you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you. And it's not just that, but it's about thank you for being the divine being that you are. I'm sorry for seeing you as anything other than the divine being that you are. Please forgive me for seeing you as anything than the divine being you are. And I love you for the divine being that you are. And so like moving into that space, like Josslyn said, that frequency of gratitude and understanding that we're all interconnected and moving through this story together, and that it's okay for us to make mistakes, it's okay for us to have learning experiences, because that's what we all came here for. And you know, to really move into that space of connection and and that synergy, you know. And I love that you call this the synergy circle, because if you do, I study plants a lot and the synergistic natures of plants and different things in nature. And when you look at different of the synergy and synergistic effects of essential oils, you'll have like a different 5 different essential oils, but when you put them together, they synergize and they create something greater than and more powerful and more beneficial than was originally in the one bottle. So, you know, that's kind of what we're doing together. We all have our own piece, and together it creates something really powerful and amazing. And through that sacred giveaway of it ourselves and of the gratitude that we have, it does it cultivates space. It's like if you understand law of attraction and manifestation, there's a part where you need to clear out what's no longer serving you. You need to go inside, clear out what's no longer serving you. You need to go in your drawers, clear out what's no longer serving you, and give. Not just throw it in the garbage, but give. See what you can reallocate. Give what no longer serves you. Understand that it served you at one point and now it doesn't work for you, and you can give it to someone else and continue its life on. And I think that that's what we're doing. That's what you're doing, Brendon, is you're taking that fountain that's been poured upon you and letting your cup overflow and just flowing it out upon everyone. And I really thank you for that. And I really have a lot of gratitude for you, for Josslyn, for Michael, for Taylor, for Mitch. Was it Mitch?
Louis, Mitch is here now. Yeah.
Louis, and all the people that are spending their time to kind of activate the energies of gratitude here in this moment, because that's all we have is this moment. And we are literally rippling out into reality every time we focus on ourself in the work with ourself, every time we share our experiences, and every time we are allowed to do that genetic DNA work through our own experience. It's a very powerful, pivotal expansion of what we're going through, and I just want to honor that and just really just thank everyone that's listening. And I'm also going to have to sign off for the night. I really appreciate everyone here, and I have my children who it's their getting to be their bedtime now, and they're looking like they want their mama, and so that's what is seeming like it's most important at this moment. And I just really honor you. I know I've invited you onto my show Tea Time, but I'm really excited for that to come here in the soon future. I've got everything dialed in with electronics and everything, so that will be really exciting. You have so much to share and so much heart and beautiful energy that you exude, and I'm just thankful to have known you, to know you, and to continue to work with you. So thank you, Brendon.
Oh, thank you, Harmony. And again, it's fully reciprocated just for everybody here for doing the amazing work. And Harmony, yes, thank you for. Again, you get the special ribbon or something for being here for what will be close to a decade soon enough. So, but yeah, no, thank you so much, Harmony.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
my original crystal wand massager
right?
here, and my buttons I've given away. I mean,
OG shift buttons.
200
Yeah.
shift buttons, and I of course have to keep my own special ones that are connected to me, and I actually put them on magnets and stick them
Oh,
on my
nice.
fridge. And they are really,
Perfect.
really handy like that. Great conversation starters, helps, other people to kind of connect with the shiftivism energy and understand about free hugs and the sacred giveaway, because it's not just about,
Mm,
how much can we accumulate. It's how much can we give.
yeah.
Really is.
Yeah. I think that's a good message to kind of knowing that you have to leave, just kind of end off this portion on it. It's just like that little secret of like the more we give, the more we get, kind of thing. So like when we practice being able to be grateful for our action, to give with it without it being from a unbalanced subconscious place, but to really do that, to again, I just a couple things I'll say here is before Harmony goes. I think what can keep us in check is when we allow ourselves to reflect back on the question, or not so much the question, but the intention of, you know what do you want? I want to be able to like serve everyone's highest good, and when you kind of like approach things from that perspective, then again it becomes a very like selfless act. Very much, again, it's just like, oh, why am I giving this? Why am I doing this? Why am I spending my time? Because I know that my investment, that me pouring this water, pouring this love, that me focusing and spending my time will literally change this person's life. And how many times have we seen that, be it from Harmony's role as a mother, a friend, a partner, to be able to see the way in which someone's life changes because of our presence, because of the presence that we share in their life. So I think it's a very beautiful thing. And Harmony, thank you again for doing what is considerably the most important work here, raising the next generations, and being a mother, and helping the children today. So thank you, Harmony, as well. And
Thank
Harmony,
you.
just before you have to head off, I will make sure everyone can connect with your on Facebook. We posted a link for that, Harmony Fronter House on Facebook. And again, make sure you check the show notes on YouTube for all those tuned in. And Harmony, any other things that you just want to plug for yourself before you head off, please feel free to go ahead, because you did have a new book that you recently published, and that's a huge thing to be able to share
Yeah,
with people. So
thank
congratulations on
you.
that. Yeah.
Yes, like Brendon said, check out my page on Facebook. I have my personal page, and there's also the page for Paradigm Shift Washington that we've had going for, like Brendon said, almost a decade. And there is my YouTube page, which is Wildcraft Wellness. Go and subscribe. We got some good giveaways happening for the 999th subscriber, and for the next 500 people to subscribe, like, and comment and share. They will also be entered into a giveaway where there will be 10 winners out of the 500. So check out Wildcraft Wellness on YouTube, and there's also Wildcraft Wellness website, wildcraftwellness.net, and a bunch of pages on Facebook that I've created for my different conscious media, for Ascension, for Paradigm Shift Washington, for my Wildcraft Wellness. And I also do tie-dye. So if you like tie-dye, I do some really amazing custom tie-dye work, and that's at Wildcraft Tie-Dye or Wildcraft Designs Tie-Dye. And also my book, super excited to share this with you. It's definitely along your guys's vibrations. It's called Birthing a New Paradigm. And this is something that I've been working on for almost 10 years. And it's kind of a collection of my experiences growing up and becoming a mother, and then the synchronized shift of my perception when I understood how what I believe and what I focus on is actually um, creating the reality in which I'm experiencing. So check it out. There's a lot of really great information in it, and it's a journey of metamorphosis for us all. We're all birthing a new paradigm, and whether you're a parent, whether you're a child, and whatever stage of life you are, this book is really a powerful way to kind of shift your perception and understand through compassion and gratitude. So I really thank you
There we go.
for letting me plug my new journey. Super excited to share that with the world. It's really just about helping others to empower themselves to live to their greatest potential. So I know you do that, and I'm so thankful for all of the other paradigm shifters that are stepping into their power and leading by example and shining that light and love out, and so much gratitude. Thank you.
Beautiful. Awesome. Thank you, Harmony. And Harmony, when you get a chance, it doesn't have to be right away. Send me the list of links that you want me to include in the show notes, and we'll make sure people can get the links for the books and everything. So beautiful. All right, Harmony, we're pretty much after you step out, it's just me and Taylor. Josslyn had to step out. Thank you to her. Again, any just closing words of inspiration for the people listening to this before you head off to where you need to?
Yeah, just understand that everything is about frequency and vibration. And when we connect with our experiences, we can understand discernment. And through that, we can connect to the frequencies in life that are most beneficial to each individual at their time in their life in that individual moment. So, connect to who you are, to what your journey is, to your sacred path, what you wanted to do as a child. Really connect to those things and never lose sight of the true world in which you came here to create. Because if they say, if you feel like you came to this earth into a place where you don't belong, it's because you were here to help create a new world where we all belong. So yeah, blessings, and
Awesome.
yeah, live by your heart.
Beautiful. Awesome. Thank you so much, Harmony. And yeah, looking forward to being able to collaborate some more moving forward. And congratulations again on all you've created so far. So
thank you. Mwah.
All right, much love to you and the whole family. Thanks again, Harmony. Take care.
Thank you.
All right. So with that said, we're very much in just the final stage of the broadcast. Taylor and myself are just going to close it off here. A couple things I just want to mention, that going back to what Josslyn and Harmony were talking about, when we were talking about the idea of, like sometimes we might use someone's need or someone's needs and try and fill them to kind of unintentionally manipulate. There are going to be periods throughout our life where we're going to do things that we aren't going to be fully happy about. But I think it's important to even perceive those moments of our past through a lens of gratitude, not just for what we did, but for our ability to learn from what we did. So that's the thing, right? It's not so much like, oh, I'm grateful that I was a jerk, but I'm grateful that I got the lessons that I needed to get out of learning that, because now I'm not going to be a jerk anymore. And it's kind of this thing of checking in with ourselves and looking at our past and choosing what we want to bring with us into the future, choosing what we want to leave behind, old habits, old behaviors, old, projections of lack of self-love, in which we do sometimes try and control other people, and allowing ourselves to just be able to be grateful to have learned what we needed to learn to become who we are becoming, moving forward. So it's like, I'm not grateful that I subconsciously projected my lack of self-love into a situation where I involuntarily accidentally controlled someone else, but I'm grateful that light was shined on this behavior so that now I can be more self-aware of it, and so now that I can be more responsible, and so now I don't have to repeat it again moving forward. So again, the gratitude comes in many different ways and many different layers and many different perspectives, and yeah, I think it's a very, very powerful thing. And the other thing I was just going to say, and then we'll pass it over to Taylor for any closing thoughts, and we'll wrap it up here. And thank you again, everyone, for being a part of this. Is I think what's important is to be able to try to have what I can basically explain as like a balanced heart chakra, meaning to not have your heart chakra overly open, but at the same time to not have it too closed. What you want is that heart chakra that's balanced, in the same way you could balance any of your other chakras as well, meaning that they could be too open. If your throat chakra is too open, that might mean you're talking too much but you're never listening, type thing, right? If it's too closed, that means you're never talking and maybe you're not expressing yourself. But when it's balanced, you're talking and you're listening and you're aware. So the same with the heart. Sometimes if the heart's closed, you're kind of have a hard time trusting people, have a hard time opening up to people. That's okay. I'm not saying that's wrong, but again, you can kind of move through that experience into the balance. And then sometimes when the heart is overly open, sometimes again that puts us into situations where, you know, we end up becoming vulnerable, overly vulnerable. People take advantage of our generosity. We put ourselves in situations where maybe our boundaries aren't respected or things like that. So instead, you want to find that healthy, open heart, the one where you are able to say yes and no. Meaning, if someone's like, "Hey, like meet me up for coffee in 30 minutes. We gotta talk. In the past, you've always done this for me." Instead, to just be like, actually, like, I'm going to say no because I need to take care of myself right now. Right? So the balanced heart is making sure that you're keeping track of how you're feeling and what you need, and making sure that you trying to help other people isn't taking priority over you helping yourself, but instead finding that balance where you're helping yourself so that you can help other people even more moving forward. So again, I think when we're in that place of a balanced heart, I think it allows us to be in a more balanced relationship with gratitude, how we receive gratitude, how we give gratitude, how we give things to other people. And yeah, I that was just something that I wanted to share, because I think again, it's all a purpose of balance, and it's all a purpose of becoming more aware. And yeah, I'm grateful for everybody again, just to be able to be here, and by us having this discussion, there's a little bit more that we continue to learn and grow together as a team. So thank you again, everyone. So we're going to move into, again, like I said, just kind of a closing moment. Taylor, being the only one here, passing the talking stick over to you. Any other things that you just want to, because usually when we do these broadcasts, we usually end the broadcast just with like expressing gratitude. So if there's anything else that you would like to be able to express gratitude, or any other closing thoughts that you would like to be able to mention for the people tuning into this, go right ahead, Taylor.
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to mention a little bit more about what you were just saying too. You know, with learning and having gratitude for that learning experience, with everything that was what we perceive as negative, or having gratitude for those experiences. And Michael kind of mentioned it earlier too with boundaries. Eventually, when you bring yourself to these awarenesses of maybe perhaps when you're giving too much or taking too much, or whatever it might be, and you find these awarenesses, and then you create these boundaries, and then you can kind of use gratitude to go back and say, wow, thank you for giving me those lessons, those learning opportunities, so that I don't have to do that going forward, and that I can be more in a place of balance. And then in doing so, I can, give more of myself to myself and for other people as well. So I just thought that was a brilliant point to mention, again as well. And we kind of talked a little bit about that prior to just starting the broadcast. Michael mentioned it too, about how even with our interactions with everybody, and doing like for me, like in doing my energy work, or I'm going to be doing some more life coaching pretty soon, and working with the people that I have worked with already, and also like even tonight, just being able to kind of spend time with them, hear their stories, and gain the wisdom and insight from their journey is amazing. So being able to kind of have that time with each other, and to learn from each other, and to grow with each other, is a really beautiful thing in itself. So I'm definitely grateful for that, and grateful for everybody listening tonight, for sure. And they should also be grateful for them for showing up and for doing something for themselves, and investing in themselves, and then investing in everybody else as well, as a community. So thank you.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Thank you as well, Taylor. And again, even though we're getting close to the end of the broadcast, it's still always just like, oh, there's like more I could talk about, more we can kind of dive into, but we'll try to just wrap it up nice and neatly here. Couple things that just kind of came to mind just as Taylor was talking there. Yeah, I think as we wrap up this broadcast, I just want us to be reminded of how we can express gratitude, the different ways in which we can express gratitude, and how gratitude isn't always something that is verbally expressed. It is something that is expressed through our actions. It is something that is expressed through us like respecting other people's space, maybe their boundaries or things like that. It can be something that is shown, not just told. You know, I think that's, if you think about it, if you think about it from a romantic perspective, you know, oftentimes a woman or a man, it will mean something if someone says, "Oh, I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you." That can mean something to them. But what's even more meaningful is when it doesn't need to be said, but it is communicated through actions. Oh, it is communicated through our presence. It is communicated by us listening. It is communicated by us giving a massage, physically interacting with them, touching, by being able to, like, you know, just help them out, make a bath, cook for them, make a meal, go out of our way, do a favor, help make them comfortable, help make them feel that they are in a space where they are supported, you know? So gratitude is an essential element that helps us serve other people, and is something that they greatly benefit from, and something that, you know, a lot of people have a hard time asking for it, have a hard time asking for help. And I think when we can acknowledge that, we acknowledge the importance of being able to acknowledge others, to be able to express our gratitude. I think when you really take a moment to sit down with people and just be able to ask them what they're passionate about, ask them what's important to them, ask them how they're feeling, ask them if they want to spend some time together, ask them if they need some company and things like that. Give people the opportunity to be able to receive the love that you're sharing. Give them the opportunity for them to feel whole in the moment that they are in, to feel seen, to feel loved, to feel acknowledged. Allow them to be able to feel strength through your perspective, through your example, through your trust in the experience. Allow them to be able to feel that they have whatever is needed, and they do. And the external amplifies what is already inside. And sometimes that is all people need. They need that external interaction or words because it helps them remember what's already inside. You know? So quick little thing. Imagine that feeling when you were younger, connecting with the inner child, and imagine that feeling of hugging your favorite stuffed animal. Imagine what that feels like. And imagine like that feeling of gratitude where you're just like, like there's a warm, cozy feeling of that. What is that feeling? What is that feeling? What are you feeling right there? It's like a feeling of like love. It's a feeling of warmth. It's a feeling of fuzziness. But now understand as an adult that you can actually feel that same feeling without the stuffed animal. Because the feeling was already inside. It wasn't actually the stuffed animal. It was you. It was like you connecting with yourself in that moment. And so allow yourself to know that those like feelings of gratitude, those serve us. They serve us every single day. And I think in the same way we need sunlight and sleep and food and water, we need to be able to open ourselves up to being able to feel gratitude. Because it helps us feel present. It helps us feel joy. It helps us see the bigger story. It helps give us hope. It helps us inspire others. And it helps us change the world. So I think gratitude is something that this world absolutely needs more of. And so thank you, every single person here, for continuing to be grateful for what is, for being able to be grateful for that which you are not grateful for standing up when things aren't, when there is injustice. There's a lot of things in our world right now that are shifting, a lot of habits that we are letting go of. And we can be grateful for the past because we have learned from it in order to be able to create a better future. And yet we must be able to allow that gratitude to propel us. Do not rush into the future holding fear in your arms. Instead, walk into the future holding gratitude in your heart, and allow that gratitude to help guide us and to take those steps mindfully each and every moment. with love. So with that said, we're going to wrap up this broadcast. And again, for everybody here, just encouraging you to keep bringing the gratitude with you each and every single day. Express it, show it, be open to it, allow others the opportunity to express their gratitude to you. Practice, sit down with a friend and just be like, all right, let's say like 5 things about each other that we're grateful for. Be like, oh, I'm grateful for your humor. I'm grateful for like that thing that you did for me last week. I'm great. Try this. Literally go out of your way. Practice trying this, you know? When we practice expressing gratitude, we practice embodying it. And when we embody it, we become it. And let us become like walking beacons of gratitude. Because I think that is what we are here to be. And I think that is exactly what this world needs. And it invites others to become it too. To be that archetype of gratefulness. And that gratefulness comes from like really just being able to call it divinity, call it unity, seeing beyond, seeing the matrix, seeing the magic. It's as simple and as complex as you choose to see it. So find gratitude in the simplicity, find gratitude in the complexity, find gratitude in the bigger story, find gratitude in the single moment. It is all there. And what is it? It's all you. It's all love looking back in on itself. So special gratitude to everybody tuning into this. For those of you continuing to carry these vibrations forward, for doing the work, for showing up. Thank you. I'm grateful for every single person for being a part of this broadcast. Thank you to every single person who's like interacting on the YouTubes. Thank you to our Patreon supporters for all your support. A reminder, if you enjoy this broadcast, please feel free to check out the Patreon to learn more about how you can support with a monthly micro contribution. And you can also learn about being able to connect deeper with the project, to be able to join as a leading member when you sign up on the Patreon, to be able to join in these broadcasts in the future, and to be able to help us in featuring your content with a wider community. And as always, we'll be back again with more broadcasts on Sundays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time as our regular time, but you can always tune in afterwards. If you're not already yet, be sure to subscribe on YouTube at youtube.com/SkullBabylon. You can also find us on Paradigm Shift Radio on iTunes to subscribe there. You can go right to ParadigmShiftCentral.com and find all the links for all the past broadcasts that you need on iTunes and YouTube. Follow me on Mystic Spider-Man on Instagram and also the new Paradigm Shift Central team page as well. And be sure to connect with all of the other leading members who are part of this broadcast, who you got to meet along the way. So thank you again, everyone, so much for being here. Thank you, Taylor. Thank you, Josslyn, Harmony, Louie, Mitch, Michael. Was that everyone? I think that was everyone. Was that everyone? I think so. I'm like, was there someone else? I think that's everyone. So, and thank you to everyone who wishes themselves to be here, but perhaps they needed to be somewhere else. And thank you again to you, the person listening to this. Thank you for spending time with us. Thank you for being in this moment where we get to deepen our relationship, and thank you for being a part of this bigger story. So with that said, we're going to wrap up this broadcast. Please feel free to continue to share this broadcast with your friend, invite them into other stuff, message me on Instagram, and yeah, keep it shifty. Thank you for keeping it shifty. So Taylor, go ahead, join me in making a little bit of noise as we bring up the outro music to be able to send everyone off as we conclude another episode here of Paradigm Shift Central Special Gratitude Synergy Circle. Let us carry this gratitude with us into 2020. So we look back on where we have been from 2012, and we look back on all the things that we have learned, all the things we are grateful for, and all the beautiful moments still ahead of us. So friends, family, tribe, community, team, shifters, light guardians, thank you. I am grateful for what we are creating together. So Taylor, go ahead and join me in making some noise as we send them some love and conclude another broadcast. So thank you again, everyone.
Thank you. Have a great night, everyone.
Much love. Thanks again. Special thank you to Danny Leonardo, whose music is featured at the beginning and end of this broadcast. Be sure to check out more of Danny's work in the link in the YouTube info below. Thank you, Danny.